Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Undead Gaming Cast, episode 4 or 2, 3, 3. I think it's the third one. It's the third one, isn't it? I don't know. No, 3. There you go. 3. Josh knows. Okay, welcome. If you don't know, this is the monthly podcast where myself, Rob the Undead Gamer, and some of my faithful good companions talk about video games and the like for like an hour or two, and it's all fun and games and things and stuff. So, let me introduce you guys to our wonderful guests today. We've got Naz Dragonheart from the wonderful YouTube channel Talk Play. Hello, sir. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Lovely introduction.
No worries. Well, this is technically the second time you've been on this podcast, but
Yeah, but we don't
sadly,
talk about the Ghost podcast.
yeah,
Never
that
talk about it.
we don't talk about it. It was a terrible time. Sadly, didn't see the light of day. But you're back, and this one will be a good one. I hope.
Oh, it should
Fingers
be good.
crossed.
I'm excited.
Awesome. So, and welcome, Mr. Josh Whitehurst. Thank you so much for joining me, buddy.
No, no worries, mate. Pleasure to be
Awesome.
here.
Cool, cool. Good friend of mine, gamer, and listener of the podcast as well. So
Double
win,
win.
win, win, win,
Mr.
win.
Potato fans, hell yeah.
So, let's just give you the rundown of this podcast. As I said, this is a monthly podcast, which is currently on YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, which you're probably watching it on now. Hopes to get it on iTunes very soon, but still having troubles with that. But as soon as we can get it on iTunes, we'll let you guys know. But yes, we talk about games for about an hour and a half, and it's all fun, it's all good. And we start things off with talking about what we've been playing. Then we move on to the main topic and discussion of the podcast, which this week, or this month rather, is our post E3 show. A little bit late, but hey ho, we can still talk about shit. And then we round things off with next month's releases, or this month's releases, as it's now the month of July. So, let's get into it. Josh, what have you been playing recently? What have you been playing this month?
Oh, God. Well, as we're only 2 days in, I must confess I actually haven't played anything yet this month, apart from some tabletop stuff with you.
Yep.
As of last month, I was playing Far Cry 3. Coincidentally, you guys managed to spoil the game as I was watching the podcast and playing the game at the same time. So, so you guys
Nothing
managed
to
to,
do with me, so I've not played it, so.
yeah, but you need to sort of shout spoilers a little bit, I think, for. To be completely honest with you, nothing has really taken my attention for that long. I played Far Cry 3 for a while. I played the game with gold last month, which was Charlie Murder for a little while on the Xbox.
Yeah, you told
Just
me
kind of
about that.
like a brawling, like Xbox kind of like beat 'em up side to side thing, all based on like a punk band trying to defeat a metal band. It's pretty cool. Um, and I've worked out in the last like month and a half that I'm terrible at Street Fighter, basically. And between that and just some little bits and pieces and just kind of picking up games and putting them back down again straight away,
Hmm.
Far Cry's the game I've sort of devoted the most time to.
I suppose with those sort of massively open world games, though, they just hold your attention or they can hold your attention for so long. It's like I've been playing Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion since probably 2006, and it's it's nearly 10 years old, 8 years on now, and I've still not done everything in that game. I still pick it up every now and then and play it. Same with Skyrim. I'm sure for years to come, I'll still be playing those games.
Yeah, it's the same with me for Fallout as well. Because before I started playing Far Cry again,
Hmm.
I was playing the DLC with the Fallout and stuff, and like Fallout was a game that I kind of very much had a bit of a weird relationship with, where I'd kind of like pick it up for like ages and then just like put it down and just
Yeah,
go away in a cupboard,
yeah,
and
same with
then it'd
me.
come back out and it'd come back down on my Xbox, and it'd just constantly revolve. And I mean, yeah. So apart from Far Cry, the only thing that I've played in any sort of length at all is Magic 2014 on the Xbox, but I've beaten that now like
What are the
five.
obviously you and I are well versed with Magic the Gathering. We play quite a bit. I mean, I don't know about you, Naz, if you play
I played a
against.
little bit of it. A little
Yeah,
bit.
but how's the its online counterpart, as you would call it? How's that in comparison to the sort of
Well,
physical game?
the Just the Planeswalker series is a bit different because if like depending upon the level of nerd and the level of like money that you want to spend, there's kind of like two options for you. You either take it like the Magic online route, which is very much like the physical card game. You just buy digital copies of the cards.
Yeah,
Obviously, it just means that when you want to play at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's someone to play with at 2 o'clock in the morning because you just go
yeah,
online and there's a thing to play with. But it's exactly the same process. You build your own decks, all the cards. It's very like competitive, very constructive, but it costs you a lot of money.
yeah, yeah.
The easiest way in for new Magic players is Jaws of the Planeswalkers, which has been going now for like 3 or 4 years, I think. Starting in like 2011, I think it was.
Cool.
But they're kind of like pre-constructed decks. They're kind of like loosely fitted around. Well, the newest edition, 2014, is kind of loosely fitted around a story where Chandra, who's one of the Planeswalkers from the normal game, kind of has something stolen from her, and you work in unison with her by beating the decks and tracking down this guy, and who then you beat at the end and take the artifact back off him. But like in terms of actual gameplay, it works a little bit weirdly. Like Magic is quite a complex game, and it's kind of dumbed down a little bit. There's some things that you shouldn't be able to do that you can do on the game, like the way that
I suppose it kind of has to be, because it's a video game. It's meant to be more, I suppose, inclusive. Because obviously some people might want to get into Magic, but they don't know anyone who plays, and
it is a fantastic gateway in. But what I would say is, if anybody would be persuaded to like pick up the actual like cards that you just, because like most of my game is done traditionally anyway.
Yeah.
But it is a fantastic gateway in, and it's kind of what got me. I was taught by someone, and then used Jaws of the Planeswalkers to then actually like hone my skills, because it gets you thinking the way that you need to be thinking.
Yeah.
When you're playing physically.
Yeah.
In terms of like deck building and stuff, like it's quite a creative game, like physically, but they kind of constrain you within certain archetypes within the game, which, like I said, is just because obviously newer players might not have a clue what they're doing, so it's a kind of just a way of just being able to go, oh well, I fancy playing with big stompy monsters.
Yeah.
There's something that lets me do that.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose these types of online card games have become ever more popular, obviously with games like Hearthstone and
yeah,
things like
say
that.
I've had a go on Hearthstone. It's one of the things that I'm trying to get into playing. It's almost like it's a gateway almost into Magic, because you're not worrying so much about mana, because mana's turn-based.
Yeah.
You get like up to 10 mana, 1 mana a turn. And it's kind of an easier version of Magic.
Yeah, I
It's
suppose
quite
it's a bit more of a
interesting and
simplified
flashy.
version, I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of as far as I can see, it's very kind of like two-dimensional next to Magic. And the way that it works is slightly different, because like your health, the health of your creatures, which is your toughness, regenerates at the end of every turn.
Yeah.
In Magic, whereas at Hearthstone, like you deal 1 damage to a monster with 3 health, and then it has 2 until you kill it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So it's, you know, mechanically it's a little bit easier, just because you can then just be like, well, I can hit this guy with this one and take him down to 2, and then hit him with a spell and then just kill something outright. Whereas in Magic, you really have to sort of think about. You kind of have to be thinking like 3 steps ahead all the time. It's quite like
there's a lot more mechanics going on in Magic than there are in Hearthstone. It's a very mechanical game.
Yeah. The decks are often built around certain mechanics as well.
Cool.
But yeah.
Cool.
Aside from that, that's all I've been playing.
Cool. Okay, so Naz, what have you been up to?
I see. Inversely, I've been playing a lot of games lately, which is that's a bad reflection, but still, crack on. I finished playing Dark Souls 2.
Cool.
Wasn't a big fan of the ending to that, because it was quite easy. It was one of those stupid bosses where if you just sort of stepped out of range and took it out from a distance, you were fine. And as I played all of the game as an up-close combatant with a sword and a shield, it kind of almost felt like cheating, but I thought, do you know what? You've not been fair to me all fucking game. So, sod you, I'm going for it.
Awesome, yeah.
But it was a fun ride. It's a fun ride. There was a lot of interesting lore stuff, which I like a lot about Dark Souls in general. There's a lot of interesting lore, and it all feeds into these ideas and the stuff that's going on in it. It's just mad stuff going on. But so yeah, it was a wild ride, and I'm glad it's over now.
But as a sequel, good. Not disappointed at all in any way with it, or
it wasn't as good. It was weird. It was kind of the way the first Dark Souls worked. It was kind of like everything was connected, the whole world was connected, and you had a lot of backtracking because of that. But you didn't mind the backtracking, because there was still a challenge there. Every time you try and backtrack, you've got to keep in mind, okay, these guys are all over here and they're all over there, and you've got to be careful, keep my wits about you. Dark Souls 2, it takes out that kind of backtracking by removing enemies after so many times you kill them or you die. So it's kind of like taking that away, and I didn't feel like there was much exploration going on. It was still a better game than most games are, but it wasn't as good as the original. It's hard to sort of say, well, if that's the yardstick I'm going to measure that game by, you can't be like that. You've got to be like, oh, okay, I've got to merit it on his own merits, accept the fact that it's not quite as good, as the original, but still enjoy the fact that it's a good game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how's it comparing to Demon Souls? 'Cause I think like Demon Souls and Dark Souls, although sort of in the same universe and the same world and same sort of series, they've kind of been divided, it seems, by the fans a bit.
Yeah, I think it's based down to like the different ways of exploration. So like Dark Souls was a lot about going forwards,
Hmm.
whilst Demon Souls was about like picking a world you go into and exploring that world. And I know, like you say, it is a divisive thing. Basically, yeah, with Dark Souls, it's one of those kinds of games where you've got to let yourself get thrown into it and just get swept up with it. It's a water cooler game. You sort of sit down together and you go, "Oh, did you fight that demon?" Yeah, it's just like, "Oh, where's this demon?" It's, what you got to do is bloody bloody blah. It's very much a community-based game.
Hmm.
Mm.
See, I kind of really, really struggled with Dark Souls. Like, I don't know if it's just because I started and then kind of like came out of it for a little while. Like I was saying, I was like picking up and putting down games, and like I kind of tried to get back to Dark Souls again, and it just kind of, I think you just need to sit it for a while just to get used to it. Because if you put it down, the game's merciless enough anyway.
Yeah, yeah. You
And
sort
then
of, it's like going
you
into a
lose
war zone.
the
You sort of
combat.
go into the war zone and you're just like, "Oh my god, everything in here can kill me." Just like shit.
I forgot how to sword.
Yeah.
Oh, oops.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been sort of after with all the hype of Dark Souls 2 and that, I've been watching, see your Let's Play parts of it and parts of other people's gameplays and things like that, and gotta say, I think I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna get the first one and give it a go.
First one, jeez, I recommend the second one first, as odd as that sounds.
Yeah, fair
It's
enough.
just a bit more.
What I
It's
heard-
a bit more forgiving.
Okay.
It's a bit.
Yeah,
It's a,
that's what I heard in the reviews. That the second one is just, the first one, honestly, man, it absolutely wrecks you. There is no learning curve. It's like this. It's like,
it makes you fight a boss at the very start,
Yeah.
and unless you know to go off to the left where there's a little exit
Yeah.
at the back, you're going to get mullered by it again and again and again, and then you'll be like, "Well, why can I not kill this thing with this broken sword?" It's just like, well, you got to sod off and then find the proper swords.
well, I actually did that. Like, just speaking of that, like,
Mm.
I remember he kind of like smashes his sword down, just like kind of like ripples out damage, and I was like,
Yeah.
just like running around the area, like, where am I going? How do I kill this thing? And then I saw that little door, and I was like, nah, I'm going through there. And kind of accidentally veered into that door, but like he killed me like by the time I'd worked out the door, and because it's a bit clunky,
Yeah.
as most sort of Japanese kind of style games are. Like the door didn't open the first time, so he just like killed me, and then I had to reset,
Yeah.
and then I was like, well, I'm running out the door then now. Go straight to it then. But I was breaking all the pots, hoping for some sort of magical.
Or like Zelda style, just like if I break enough of these pots, it'll give me something.
Help! Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Anything else at all?
Well, I've had a good old crack at the Steam sale, see what was on there. I picked up The Wolf Among Us, which I'm going to wait until episode 5 out of that. Broforce I picked up. That's all right for an early access game. Early access is a really weird thing where it's just kind of like, you can have some of the game now, but we're still working on it. And
Yeah, I don't really like the idea of early access. It's a nice idea, but I don't see the point in saying, hey, pay more than regular retail price for some games so you can have early access to a game that's not even finished and is pretty broken.
yeah.
It's still sort of in alpha, but you're going to pay 70 quid for it. Yeah.
It's kind of
Yes.
like that E3 thing where it should almost just be like, well, if you want like, if you want to see it now, like we're doing gameplay, they should maybe put like an alpha demo up maybe rather than make you pay like a
Yeah,
silly
like
amount of just
Destiny did for
Yeah.
PS4. Destiny
Yeah.
took an alpha for that. That's
Because then
something
you
I'd
just
play,
like,
but
at
I'll
least
talk about
familiarise
that.
yourself and work out whether you like it without having to pay extortionate money for
Yeah,
it.
I mean, like alpha and beta testing, I absolutely agree with. Brilliant, yeah. I suppose it's a lot easier to do that sort of thing with multiplayer games.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, but like, if you want to do it with a single player game, maybe go ahead and do that, but maybe say, okay, this is our alpha demo. So you
Yeah.
get the game and you play, I don't know, half hour, an hour of it or something for free.
Yeah.
And then maybe if they want to, a beta demo, and then things like that. I think demos should come back. Demos were
Yeah, bring
fun.
demos back. Proper demos.
Yeah.
Like your ma used to make.
Well, Xbox magazine, there'd be a little disc, and you'd have like 5 minutes of like 6 games on it. And, like,
Oh,
when you
Yeah.
just like stick it in and be like, oh, I fancy playing a race of like something, or a game of like FIFA, or 5 minutes of a shooter up, and like and then it'd be like, please buy this game.
yeah.
Just have hundreds of them, just kind of like lying around from my PlayStation.
Oh god, yeah. That should be the way. Should be the way.
But yeah, no, early access I just don't agree with. I just think it's the publisher saying, hey, here's a game, it's not finished yet, but because you're so desperate for it, you're gonna buy it. Yeah,
The
all for the money.
only game that I ever thought was worth early access was Starbound, and that was because it just feels so complete now.
Yeah.
And I know they're doing stuff to like put the quests in to make it more quest based and whatever, but I've had 30 odd hours playing that, just larking about on planets and stuff. It just feels so good, and it just runs so well.
And like, I mean, I appreciate early access for things like MMOs. Generally, do it for like if you pre-order a game and you get like a week's worth of early access before the sort of full general release, like the Elder Scrolls did it. And
Yeah.
Many MMOs before them have done that as well, and I'm sure they'll continue to do that. I can understand early access as a thing in terms of that, but with what we're getting on Steam with early access, I'm surprised Steam even allow it, because the amount of people that just do literally get ripped off by it by playing games that are so unplayable and broken, it doesn't make sense to me.
Consumer off it though, like obviously Steam has a really good Steam has a really good reputation for.
I don't know about Steve.
Steve, so we know a Steve.
Steve has the only existing copy of Half-Life 3.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But yeah, no, because Steam always has that kind of really good reputation of kind of just like letting the indie gamers just like kind of go for it. The developers kind of like get the foot in the door sort of thing. But then when you're getting like big like AAA companies and they're kind of like, well, here's like an early access to a game that like doesn't work and it's going to cost you $70 or 70 quid. It just kind of, I don't know, that kind of, for me, it kind of sways the reputation slightly.
Here's the thing. Like, I appreciate Steam want to be welcoming and to every developer, whether that be an indie developer or a AAA title developer and things like that. But with, as you said, with the indie titles and stuff and the indie developers, they had Steam Greenlight, which for the most part sort of looked at the games and saw whether they were even worthy to go on the Greenlight, and then obviously people voted for them. And from that, we've had some really awesome games come out of Greenlight. We've had Papers, Please, for what as one example. My mind's gone blank.
Rogue Legacy, I believe, was one of them as well.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Was FTL one?
I believe FTL might have been one. I'd love to say
was.
yes, because that's an amazing game.
We'll say yes anyway.
We'll say yes, and then we'll let the internet correct us.
Yeah. Come at us, internet. Sorry, Josh.
I know that was independent game dev tycoon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the indie.
Yeah.
That game's amazing. If you've not played it, I picked it up and shamefully spent about 9 hours in lectures for the week I bought it. Sat there in the lecture, but playing game dev tycoon. Amazing.
But like they monitor the green light for the most part, and obviously there will only green light games that aren't broken and are actually good and people want, such as Papers, Please, other games. But when it comes to the AAA developers, it seems, why isn't that same monitoring going on? Because there's a lot of games that, even DayZ I think is one of the perfect examples of a game that was totally broken and was being sold for full retail release as an early access game and was unplayable. It was literally unplayable. Sorry?
Wasn't it a mod? It was a mod for Arma 2, wasn't it? Like DayZ
it was originally, but then a developer took it on to
as a standalone,
make it a standalone title, and it was totally broken.
It's all back to
yes, it is. But I don't understand why that they can't monitor all of it. Steam are a large enough company to be okay if I don't know, one big game publisher says, no, we're not giving our games to you, I'm pretty sure Steam will be okay.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I think there are too many games coming out on Steam right now. Like the slew of releases. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's kind of a bad thing because how do
Mm,
you sift through all the crap to find the good stuff? It's
Yeah.
kind
exactly.
of it's a word of mouth thing these days. It's
It
like,
is, yeah.
oh, have you checked out such and such game? No,
And
I've been sifting through.
most of what you see on Steam on the front first page are either games that are appalling, or they're just HD remakes of games that came out 10 years ago, which is fair enough, but you know, there's these indie developer titles, there's these little niche games that just get pushed down from this front page and first page and you don't see, which should be given the spotlight instead of these HD remakes of some of these games that are 10 years old. Yes, they might be good games, but you know, let's give these indie developers and other developers the spotlight here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I totally agree with you, but like, um, I think the money thing for Steam is an issue because obviously at the primary core of it, Steam is a business. I'm reasonably sure, I'm not entirely certain, but I'm reasonably sure that they're publicly floated on one way or another, and it's all got to go back to their shareholders at the end of the day. And if EA or Activision or whoever just go, well, sod you, we're going
Well,
elsewhere.
EA have been trying to for years, haven't they, with that Origin service of theirs?
But the
I mean,
thing is, it's just like well, your PC platforms are kind of just like either you just put it straight into PC, you go like via Origin, which nobody wants to use. We've got games for Windows, which less than nobody wants to use, and then Steam. So it's kind of like I think if somebody took their games elsewhere, I'd be inclined to think the games just wouldn't bother because obviously Steam is just the best platform because it's obviously social, centered around like a community.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like you were saying,
Steam's the best platform of its kind. It's the same, like, you know, Twitch is the best live streaming site of its kind. YouTube is probably the best video streaming, well, not streaming, but you know, online video
Uploads,
service.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, with everything compared to all the others. So, sorry, Josh.
I said, is there even another? Like, is there even another video? Like, not to my mind at least. I can't.
Yeah, I mean,
fathom.
there's other sites like Dailymotion,
Vimeo.
Vimeo. Yeah, I think yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a few, but it's when something comes synonymous with that, like Googling. The idea of a search engine, you Google something these days, it just becomes so synonymous and built in. You just
Yeah.
you don't think of anything else.
Yeah.
That's actually in the dictionary now. Googling is a term, or to Google something is actually part of the English. We've made it, guys.
The more you know. Awesome. So, did you pick anything awesome up at the Steam sale? Because I've not dared to have a look because I'm totally broke and I don't want to tease myself with. Aside from
Yeah.
the fact that I've got a Mac and half the stuff I can't play anyway, but
That's what I thought I'd be doing. Is I'll be sensible. I'll get a Mac. There's no games on there, and then there's
yeah.
a good couple of games on there. Oh, do you know, I'm gonna boot Steam. I'll just check on your phone. Just check it on here. It's fine. It's fine. We're in the future now. We can do this. I say it was only like bits and stuff that I was having my eye on anyway. So stuff like The Wolf Among Us, which I'd kept my eye on for a bit. Battle Block Theatre. Oh, it's an amazing game. I've had so much fun with that. It's untrue. Just
What's that? Just
Battle Block Theatre. It was originally on Xbox, and then they put it onto Steam a couple of weeks ago. It's Windows only version, but I've got like a Windows side of my Mac. But it's so much fun. It's just the writing in it is what's impressed me because it's just so funny. It's like genuinely funny, and it's like, oh, well, look at me, it's a crazy thing, and everybody's all friends here, and they're all on a friendship, which is a ship of friends. It's so lovely. It's just fantastical. It's just I'm really having a good time with it.
like
Awesome.
humor is rare in games nowadays. I find it's often quite forced. So it's nice to know that there are still some genuinely incredibly funny games around. Like Double Fine are probably the only company that springs to mind in terms of humour that actually keeps it.
Yeah, they've still got a good sense of humour. I've got Broken Age waiting for me to be played at some point or another in the future. It's just one of those things. You just decadently build stuff up from Steam, and then you just look at the digital library and go, "I'm never going to play all those games in a million
Yeah, I
years."
know.
Still buying
I know. I
them.
mean, Steam does immensely well out of the Steam sale, but probably more than half of the games that people buy on the Steam sale, they'll never play. They'll never play. I think it's more of a thing as like, oh, this is like 100% off. Have it. It's like, oh, okay.
I'm taking, yeah, I think I've got like 30 odd games on Steam. I own more games on Steam than I do on my Xbox, and I don't game on my PC at all.
Brilliant.
So there you go.
Brilliant.
Example of that, yeah.
Cool. So, is that you done, Naz? Is
yeah,
that?
I
as
think
much
that
as
was
you've been
I think that was it. Other than that, I've been playing some Mario Kart as well because I love Mario Kart, and it's the new one's really nice looking and it plays great, and I can play it on my gamepad whilst having something on the TV, which is lovely.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
What
Cool.
about you, Rob? What have you been doing?
I'll be honest. It's kind of a similar story to you, Josh. I've barely been playing any video games at all. I've mainly been sort of either busy or playing sort of board games and card games, things like that with you, Josh. If you've been following me on Twitter, you might know that I've been meeting up with a couple of friends every Sunday, and we've just been sort of playing some board games and Magic and card games and stuff. I got to play Cards Against Humanity for the first time a couple of weeks back.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant game, absolutely hilarious. I know there's like an online like video game version, but if you can get the game and play it with friends, it's just 10 times the experience.
That's the lovely thing about board games and stuff like that. They're just the community just is there. You sat with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the worst about Cards Against Humanity is that my partner, she does not play any games whatsoever, and she absolutely wiped the floor with the Cards Against Humanity. I think that's the beauty of the game, though, because it's just like you don't have to be able to play really complex games. Because me and Robin, like the rest of like our kind of group, has been playing like complex games like Lord of the Rings and like Forbidden Island and these kind of rules, rule book games. We just sat down. We were like, "Cards Against Humanity, let's go!" And my girlfriend just kicked the crap out of us.
Because the thing with like Cards Against Humanity, none of it really has to make sense. Your answers don't have to make sense. But I suppose to win the game, you just have to try and think, okay, what's the funniest answer to this question, and try and win it like that. Some of the things that the cards come out with, it's absolutely hilarious. It's such a great, fun social game. Couple of friends, couple of beers, that sort of thing. It's just one of those games, and it's pretty reasonable. I think it's about £20.
That's not too bad at all.
I think,
yeah,
for the.
Well, I think. How much do we pay? Yeah, it's probably not. It's like 15, 20 quid because we got that and Forbidden Island and a bunch of dice for about 50 quid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But it's a pretty reasonable price for what you get. I mean, you do get a ton of cards in this box, and you can just. It's one of those games. We sort of looked at our clocks and thought, oh, we should probably stop now and play something else because it's one of those games you could just play all night, absolutely all night. Sort of no end to it. It's absolutely hilarious. But that was really, really fun. We played Forbidden Island as well, which was an interesting game. It's one of them sort of like complicated-ish, sort of half role play, half normal sort of board game type games, where you're basically on this island which is sinking, and you have to collect these treasures and get off the island before it sinks. But obviously you draw cards and things like that, and you draw cards that say, oh, this part of the island has sunk, and if it sinks like sort of twice, that's it. That part of the island disappears, and it makes it more difficult to get around and stuff.
Yeah, in the first instance it floods, and then you have to either like shore it up, like say flip it back over with one of your like actions, and if you get it again but it's flooded, it sinks.
Yeah.
If you lose, it's like one of those games. It's like six ways to lose, one way to win. We managed to win.
And even like the character, you don't get sort of like those normal characters where you think, oh, I'm just going to play the blue one, I'm going to play the red one. They're sort of like archetypal jobs in a sense, or roles.
Oh, right.
So you've got like a helicopter pilot who has got certain amount of abilities, who can sort of fly anywhere around the island, so they don't need to sort of walk or whatever. Then you've got like an explorer who what's their special ability? I can't remember. I think they can move diagonally or something, I think.
Oh yeah, the explorer can move diagonally across tiles.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's that. The diver can go through flooded zones.
Yeah.
There's somebody, I think it's like the engineer. They can shore up a tile for free. I think it is.
Yeah,
And then there's
because the game, there's no sort of game board as such. It's all tiles,
Right.
which are named for different parts of the island. So you've got
Yeah.
like, I don't know, for example, like the spooky forest or the old watchtower or the lighthouse, things like that. But yeah, no, that's a really sort of fun, interesting game that's been played. But yeah, no, the only sort of like video game I have played is a game that I've been meaning to play for ages and ages and ages, and is from a series that originally made me want to get an Xbox 360, and that's Gears of War 3, which
Alright.
I played through for the first time sort of last month and completed. And I've got to say, it's a really good game, really good game.
Yeah, it was solid.
Did enjoy it.
Solid.
The only thing that really annoyed me about it is, for the first time in Gears of War, you've had these you've had proper female characters. Obviously, Anya has been in the game since day one, but this is sort of the first time she's been properly represented, I suppose, in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's great. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be females in the game or females in video games at all. It's brilliant that there were some good female characters. But as soon as they were involved in the game, all the men, their testosterone level went up to 11, their sex drive up to 11, and to me it was totally unnecessary. It was like, oh, I'm going to say something a little bit sexual and a little bit weirdly flirty. I mean, to be fair to the females, they sort of gave it back. You know, like, it was sort of like banter in a sense, but it was to me it was sort of like, this is really unnecessary. You've gone through 2 games already without having to do any of this stuff, and Anya has been a character in the games, and you know, the main characters have spoken to her via the comms, but they've never been like, oh yeah, sort of thing. You know, it was just it was a bit weird and kind of ruined the relationship a bit to me, because I was thinking, this is the first time you've got female characters in the game properly, and you've kind of ruined it a little bit.
You've blown it! Damn it, you've blown it!
Yeah, but other than that, it was a really good game, and you know, it was a nice end to the story, and well, yeah, no, but it's not. It's
like properly. I got to a certain point, which I'm sure everybody who's played it will know, and it's very upsetting. And then I was just like, I'm gonna put that down.
Yeah.
Christ.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Christ.
oh right. Spoiler alert. Do this for Josh's sake. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Skip a couple of minutes. Just a couple of minutes, of the podcast. But yeah, Dom.
Yeah.
That was so sad, and the way they played that out was absolutely beautiful, with just the piano version of Mad World playing, total silence.
Okay.
It was absolutely brilliant. It was one of those real story-driven, sort of heartfelt moments. I felt.
It was really heartbreaking for me, because I always play as Dom, and I always insist, no matter what we're doing, I'm playing as Dom. I've never ever been Marcus, really, when there's been somebody else there. Just like, yeah, I'm being Dom. All right, you be the bloody hero. I'll be the nice guy, because he's just such a nice guy. And then he just does that and start. I've watched it so many times on YouTube now. It's untrue. It's untrue.
Yeah. She in the third one.
She was in the second one, when she was like a skeletal thing. That was a heartbreaker as well.
I feel really sorry for him, like, because you always expect Carmine to die. Like, I don't know if like Carmine C as such dies in this one. I haven't like got to the point where he does.
Well, no, he doesn't. He doesn't, because I remember.
It was fan-driven, wasn't it?
Sorry.
It was fan-driven, wasn't it? Because they were like, "Do you want Carmine to die or not?"
Yeah.
And like,
yeah. I thought that was brilliant, because obviously for the first 2 games, obviously all the Carmines had died. And you think this poor mother of these Carmine is probably like, oh, my son's why? But I was so glad they gave it up to the fans to vote for that, and I didn't actually know the result of the vote until I played it, which was kind of nice for me. And there's a moment where you think, oh no, the fans, curse you fans, you killed him. And then you find out at the end, no, he's fine. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, there are a few moments, because I remember playing like literally within about 5 minutes of him being introduced into the game. There's a point where like a grenade goes off underneath his feet, and then he like flies off a building, kind of like grabs on, and you're like, but you don't see him grab on. You're like, well, that was fast, and then all of a sudden he like, pulls himself back up again.
But there was a couple of great moments in Gears of War 3 with Carmine where they kind of, I think they kind of teased, oh, is he gonna die? Oh, he might die. Oh no, he's fine. Where there was one instance where they go to a sort of civilian sort of city town,
Oh, I
and
love
he
Yeah,
gets
I was
shot in the
gonna
head
say.
by a sniper, and you're like, oh no! But it's like it
Yeah.
just grazes his helmet. It's like, oh, why have you done that? And then obviously there's the moment where the helicopter crashes, and you're like, no! But yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's a few of them. Because
Yeah,
like the other one gets fucking eaten or something stupid, doesn't
He
he? Gets
goes
like
down to
eaten
the
by
belly of that worm, and he's just like he's a
mm.
bloody mess down there. He's just like
he
guts
gets
all over the
eaten by
place. He's
vampires,
sizzling.
doesn't he? It's yeah. I can't remember how he dies in the first one. It's been years since I played the first one.
Shot in the head.
Yeah.
That's what that
Shot in the head.
bullet reference was to. It was the first
Oh,
Oh
one.
yeah,
yeah, no,
shot
of
in the
course,
head.
yeah.
Could have
Yeah,
been.
no, I remember. He was shot in the head.
Yeah.
The thing that
But
kind
no.
of ruined Gears of War 3 for me a little bit, partially, was that
Judgment?
like me and my friend Smokey, me and my friend Smokey had always played them together, just us two, and then it kind
Yeah.
of became that 4-player co-op thing, and it was just like, well, I don't want to have to dick around like trying to revive two AI every single time that the AI like kind of messes up, and it's just a bit like that was the only thing that upset me. But I suppose once again, like going back to the Dom thing,
Mm.
is there any point of Marcus without Dom, without the supporting cast
Yeah,
of it?
no, I thought, because obviously often you think of, I rate Gears of War so highly, honestly, like it's for shooters of recent years and of the last gen especially, shooters have just become this sort of dull, you know, nothing special sort of thing with the whole sort of
Yeah.
Call of Duty mentality especially. And I'm not generally a fan of shooters, but in games I like story, and Gears of War has got a good solid story. It's got an amazing lore behind it, and I love all that. And that's one thing, I mean, yes, the gameplay's pretty damn repetitive, got to admit that. It's, it's get a bit of story, shoot the shit out of all these people. Story, shoot the shit out of all the Locust. That's all it is, and that's fine. But the one thing that compels me to keep playing and want to keep playing is the story and what
Yeah.
happens to these characters. Because you feel, obviously, as we said with Dom, when that happened, I felt so bad for him. I felt, and even in the second game with, was it Maria, his
Maria.
wife? Yeah, all of that, all the feels, and it's a great, for what it is, a shooter game, for you to feel so much about the characters and the world and the story. Epic have done a phenomenal job.
I mean,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
only other game, the only other shooter that's any kind of where like near that is like the Bioshock kind of like
Yeah.
fine, you run
Yeah.
around, you shoot stuff, but then you find out more about Rapture or about Columbia, and then you kind of run around and shoot some more stuff, and it's kind of like you're always driven just by the idea of what
What's
big,
next? What can you discover
Yeah.
next? Or yeah.
I'd also
It's
like
not
to
to say
chuck in,
Gears of War gameplay isn't fun, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, for also story shooters, I'd chuck in Spec Ops for Line, which has a fantastic story behind it. It
Would
just.
sorry, yeah, no,
Sorry, no, carry on.
like Zero Punctuation, like is somebody that I watch sort of like every week, and the general consensus of
Escapist.
both shooters is Spunk Gargle Wee Wee.
Yeah.
Like you could say that Spec Ops: The Line was actually his game of the year, I think, last year, and
Yeah, I think
which is
so.
great because he never, ever, ever liked shooters ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I suppose Spec Ops: The Line came under the sort of Call of Duty style shooter, that sort of modern military shooter,
It was
and
marketed really badly there, like that. It was.
Yeah.
It was so much more than that. There was a really solid story. It was repetitive, like a lot of other shooters, but
Yeah.
the story behind it pushed me through and just.
got, like, sandstorm mechanics and stuff, hasn't it, as well?
Oh, that's bullshit. Oh, that's just crap. There was only
Is that
twice
just-
that I actually used sand to my advantage, and it was very clearly flagged that was the time I had to use it.
Right, no, that's a bit. That's slightly disappointing, I guess.
But there's
But
all sorts of other stuff in there because without going it, your character starts going through PTSD without trying to give away what happens, stuff like that. And the stuff he starts seeing and starts doing, I know it's highlighted in the trailers a little bit, but it's all mad. It starts messing with your mind genuinely what's going on. It's just really well
but
done.
more shooters like that. More shooters
Yeah,
like
more
that,
shooters like
please.
that.
Yeah.
more
awesome.
Bioshocks, more Far Cries, more games
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it,
So-
gamers.
I think think we're done for what we've been up to recently, I suppose, guys. Happy to move on?
Great. Let's go.
Awesome. Okay, so on to the main topic of today's podcast. Obviously, E3 has been and gone, and it's been a couple of weeks now since E3 has been and gone, sadly. But nonetheless, it's still kind of fresh in everyone's mind, as I think it's probably safe to say one of the best E3s we've had in quite a long time. Personally, I felt anyway, especially since last year. Obviously, last year was a massive one for E3 with the announcements of the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and all sorts of business. And obviously, no doubt this year again was going to be a big one with announcements of what we're going to be hopefully playing in the next couple of years on these platforms. So to keep a bit of structure to this E3 discussion, what we're going to do is go through the press conferences, sort of as they happened, and discuss the games that were announced there. So Microsoft press conference, I think, was the first press conference at E3 this year.
Normally is.
What did we think of Microsoft's press conference and the future of the Xbox One?
Well, it was a solid conference at the end of the day. It was similar to what they did last year. It was just saying, well, we're going to come out and batting with games, and they did.
I'm glad they did. They did nothing but games. Because last year it just felt like, oh, look at all the TV stuff the Xbox One can do. Look at the Kinect, which doesn't work. Yeah. But this year, no, it's glad they kind of stuck to their guns. They said, we're just going to do games, and they came through with it. And I think there's some fairly interesting games that have come out of it. Obviously, Sunset Overdrive is one of those games that a lot of people have been anticipating.
Yeah, it's.
I'm undecided. Personally, I love the art style. I love that kind of. I'm undecided. I love the art style. I love the craziness. I love the kind of just like the idea of that, like it's a game that's meant to be a game that kind of focus off the realism of like the shooters past generation and stuff. But I did watch like 10, 15 minutes of gameplay, and it just kind of looks a bit like, I don't know, almost Saints Row-y. And it's just kind of like, well, Saints Row got a bit too stupid. Like it's possible to sort of be kind of like unrealistic without being like too kind of like, I don't know, it kind of just seems a bit unintelligent.
Okay,
I don't know if that's a fair statement, but
I mean, it's definitely got, because it's a post-apocalyptic game, isn't it?
It's the idea that they're all having this energy drink and it's mutating into monsters, and you're just kind of like a lone survivor against the horde.
But as it is on a take of that sort of style of game, it visually, it's amazing. I think it could have definitely gone the way of most games of that ilk, where such as the Fallouts, such as the Gears of War, where you've just got that one color palette of grey, brown, dirty, grimy, end of the world colors. But it looks really colourful. It looks almost like an indie game would look. And I think we're seeing a few more of these sort of AAA indie style looking games coming out of the woodwork now. Games like, for example, think of in May, I think it was released, the Child of Light. Massive Ubisoft title, but looks like it's come from an indie developer.
Yeah, they're really
wondering who it was.
Sorry?
I did look twice at that, wondering who it was, just because of the way that it was.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a big Ubisoft game.
Serious? Like,
yeah,
it was a bit odd.
But no, Sunset Overdrive, I think a lot of people are looking forward to that, and it's definitely an interesting concept, and see where it goes. Obviously, we couldn't have a Microsoft conference without talking about Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's the Call of Duty opener every single time. I pretty much watched that trailer, and I said to myself, oh, he's going to shoot a gun now, and now he's going to crash, and there's going to be a man who dies. And the only thing that shocked me at the end of it is when he was being dragged away, and he left his arm behind. It's like, oh, he's left his arm behind.
Oh, that's new, because normally when they get dragged away, he's got both his arms, but whatever. I'm so done with Call of Duty. I have been for the past 3 years, but...
Like, pretty much. That actually should be the trailer. It should be Daka Daka Daka, the terrorist. Only you can stop them. And then that's it. That's just call it, and then just like, pew, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare Anthem.
I've not even watched the trailer at all for it. But
it's a bad moment where like the helicopter that he's in, there's a bloke in there with him, and it crashes with the bloke in. You've jumped out, And for some reason, he turns up again next. It's just like, what? Hey, have
I
I
think
seen
I
this
think
right?
I think they're getting desperate now, and that's why oh dear, what's his name? Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey's now
Yeah.
involved for some unknown reason. I think they're thinking, oh, what can we do to make it fresh? Or maybe we should get some proper actors in.
Who's that man from House of Cards? Get him in now.
That being
That's
said, I
that's
guess
big. That's a thing.
no, no amount of good acting can save poor writing. It's just the
No.
way it is.
But yeah, anyway, Call of Duty, whatever. But one thing that I think was for me, it's not. I'm not a huge fan of the series, and I'm not much of a fan of Microsoft anymore, unfortunately. I don't think I can't see myself getting Xbox One in the foreseeable future. But one thing that definitely makes me think I've lost Nick, who occasionally joins us on the podcast, because he's been umming and ahhing for a while now about PS4 and Xbox One. But the announcement of Halo Master Chief Collection, which I think for Microsoft has been a very good move on their part.
Yeah, it's been a quite good move, but it's kind of like made all those past things a bit redundant, and it's just kind of, it has gone sort of like to try and reach out to the Halo fans and go, "Did you like Halo? And here's the same Halo
Yeah.
game as you played, but with nicer graphics." Like, okay, cheers.
Yeah, no, I mean I can see it as, yes, it's a bit of a cash cow, but at the same time, there's many. Obviously, Halo has spanned quite a few of the Xbox platforms now, and
Yeah.
obviously as time goes on, the online capability disappears, and people have their favourites. And I think from a fan's point of view, this is great. This is all the Halo games that they've had before. This is all the online maps from every game going live again in full HD, looking lovely, and I can see the draw of that game, and I think it's wonderful. I think it's a really nice, good move on their part to do something like that.
Sequentially, though, you're going to just be able to literally like finish where Halo finishes, and then like the next cutscene is Halo 2, or you're going to have to go back through a sub menu.
Yeah, what I understand it is menu based. It is like you have to go in and pick which
I'd
one you
actually
want to be
prefer
in.
the seamless experience of going like Reach, like or maybe doing like chronologically, so going like Reach into Halo 1, into 2, into 3.
Well, maybe that's why they've done it that way then, so that you could pick the order that you go into them. You may want to do it in terms of that order.
I don't know. I don't know if Halo Reach and some of the other sort of subtitled Halos are involved in it. I don't know or if it's just Halo 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's in terms of what's actually been HD'd up is 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, okay.
That's the core that it's stuck to, which is a bit of a shame on my part because I love Reach a lot because that had an actual story I gave a damn about. Exactly.
Downloadable DLC.
Spoiler alert, because Reach obviously finishes at the end with when you're on the Pillar of Autumn, which is obviously where like
everything starts.
Yeah, everything starts from. So I just thought they might have done Reach again, just so then they could be like, well, you're an unspecified Spartan or whatever. Go through. You can like you see maps the Chief is like referenced heavily. Putting your final mission is putting them on the Pillar of Autumn and then into Halo, and then obviously the sequence after that. I just thought that might be why that they did it like that, but apparently if not, then it's a bit.
No, they're trying to reach the other way with it. They're trying to put in hints towards the future, by the sounds of things. And there's a lot of interesting stuff they're doing. Like all the maps are going to span across all the games and all the game types are there and all the rest of it. I just hope they do a really good job, really, with Halo 2 in terms of the up-res, because that is obviously that's going to cut into the development time of Halo 5 Guardians or whatever. That's bullshit name.
Yeah, that was announced, wasn't it? I think they're doing the beta for that either with the Halo Master Chief Collection or something.
That's right.
£70 for it, or
sorry.
Are they going to charge you £70 for it just so you can play the beta, or just because we were on about early access earlier? Like, they're not going to fleece you to have a go.
No.
I don't know.
Microsoft won't do that. That'd be a bad move on their part. But just give it away.
Probably. But yeah, no, I think from that respect, I've definitely lost Nick anyway for the PlayStation 4 fan club. So I mean, well, you'll get an Xbox One, and you, Josh, yeah.
As everyone bites the dust.
I guess you can always come back when you do your podcast, and if Nick's not available, you can be like, "What are you playing on Xbox?" Not that anybody gives a shit and anybody owns one apart from you.
Yeah, so all in all, pretty good podcast. A lot of games announced for Microsoft, and it's I suppose looking kind of good for them, I suppose, but nothing on the Connect. I think Connect's
Well, they've pulled it
ship
out,
has
haven't
finally
they?
sunk. Yeah, they've pulled
Which
out of it
is,
now.
which is, they basically all the stuff they announced last year. They said they do. It's going to be you can't do DRM, this, that, and the other. They've taken all of that out, and it's just back to being a machine like PlayStation 4, and we're going to have the same
Yeah,
God
I
of
mean
War
that
again.
Microsoft definitely over the past year, have just definitely it's just been a year of backpedaling for them, which I think's hilarious.
Oh, it's absolutely hilarious, but there's also a little sad irony there that I think if they stuck with it, if what you know they gave reasons for why they were doing it rather than just well you just can't do it. If they
Mm,
said well eventually we want to do everything on the store and then games will get cheaper, everybody would have got behind that. And if
yeah.
they had the family sharing stuff working at the time and all the rest of it, it would be great. It'd be absolutely great. But because we don't live in a world where we gotta wait for things. We don't want to wait for things. We don't want to wait for functionality to come in. We don't want to for stuff to.
Don't know what. That's really weird. I think it's something to do with Skype because there was sort of like a beep noise, and then I looked at the Skype audio preferences and then sorted it, and now it's fine. So
Right.
yeah, sorry, Naz, carry on, mate.
I pretty much finished what I was saying, to be honest.
I'd
Fair enough.
like to say the biggest issue that was like initially was the price of the Xbox,
Yeah,
like with versus the PlayStation 4. Though I guess that like the way that like I kind of justified it in my head is like even though I hadn't necessarily asked for it, like at least like I was getting like the Kinect and like the other bits and bobs sort of pre-packaged because like when they did the 360, then they like shipped it like without the Kinect, and then the Kinect was like another £100, but you paid £100 for your console sort of thing.
yeah,
So they just was like, well, ideally at that time Microsoft were like, we're moving ahead with the Kinect. Let's just kind of box it up, but then obviously it adds costs on. So by cutting the Kinect, I think by the time that you get to like December or whatever, you might get more people sort of grabbing up the Xboxes simply because they're not necessarily any more expensive or much more expensive than the PS4s are.
yeah. I mean, I think it's been a good move that now they've eventually cut the Connect. I feel kind of bad for the people that kind of bought it first time round with the Connect, and now that they've just dropped it. There's nothing to do on it
Yeah,
anymore. The
functionality
Kinect
stuff.
could potentially be very good, and it is a good idea. Similar to how the Oculus Rift is a good idea, and all those sorts of virtual reality is good. But there needs to be the proper time, the proper development, and the proper effort gone into making games that work and work well with the technology.
Well, I see. I've still not seen anything that has been as good as that Project Milo,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they didn't
if you
do
remember
anything.
that.
They didn't
vaguely.
do anything with it.
It was a Peter Molyneux lie, but still, when you were watching it and you were looking at it, it was just kind of like,
Oh, Peter
if this is what
Molyneux.
it can do, I'm in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I think that's
But
possibly what
still,
actually
Battalion was really good.
Still
said
with
no
that.
one of it.
Yeah. We were just like,
What I kind of
okay.
irritates me about Kinect functionality is the idea of like, I'm a big American football fan, so I kind of like buy Madden sort of like year in, year out. And like this year, I kind of sat down. I was like, okay, well, I know I'm not going to get much, many achievements out of it, as is the way with most sports games. Kind of sat down looking through the achievements of what I could do, and it was like, call an offensive play using the Kinect sensor, and I'm just like, well, like Rob's in the size of my room. It's like, it's not me to be cat in. Like, I'm not going to be able to like sit there with like, the 6 feet that you need to like mess around with Connect and then be like, go through all the menus manually just for the sake of getting completion on the game that I'd already paid like £45
Yeah, but I think Xbox or Microsoft have definitely gone mad, like literally mentally mad. Where I think the Xbox One needs to go into a mental asylum to sort its shit out with regards to the achievements, because you get an achievement, I've heard, for turning it on for the first time.
Oh no!
You
Don't
get an
don't tell
achievement.
me there's an actual like collection of console-based achievements.
I think
I'm
there is.
reasonably sure that it was a day one gimmick. It was
Oh
kind
no,
of
it's
like
definitely a day one
it
gimmick.
was
I
the,
You
remember
the,
you
that.
the
get you
day one
get an
console.
achievement. You get an achievement for watching 6 episodes of something on Netflix. There's Netflix achievements.
Really?
Yes.
I can't live in that world. I can't live in that world. It's just not for me. I'm out.
No. Yeah, Sony.
I'm staying Sony.
So,
I'm
in,
5'8". How much rope do I need to break my neck? Like,
Josh, enjoy all your achievements.
on the plus side, though, I do get to keep them on my phone because I've got a Windows phone, so I can walk in game and gain achievements.
Win-win. Win-win.
That's a win.
Okay.
Win achievements.
So, moving on in the conference lineup, I think next was EA's press conference.
God, that's weird.
Yes, I tell you what, I didn't watch any of the actual E3 stuff live, and I didn't actually look up a lot of the news at all because at the time, Twitter was exploding with
Yeah.
news, and I think
Yeah.
Naz, you and many of the people that we kind of are communicated with on Twitter were a great help to that. So I didn't even need to bother going on my laptop and typing in E3. It was all there on my phone on Twitter. But for some reason, it seemed that everyone was going mad and loving E3. Oh, sorry, EA all of a sudden during their
That never
conference.
happens.
But it was so
It's really weird because EA are always the one that get like slapped down for just being like a money munching, poorly rushed out company.
Yeah, and that's what was so surprising to me. I mean, obviously we had the EA Sports stuff, and
that was fun.
that was fun.
The new map looks okay. Not much
Same as last year
improvement.
though, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year
It's
before
sports,
that.
isn't
Very,
it?
very.
Sports
you
don't
would
change.
you'd be surprised within 3 years how much the game has changed.
It's not like, and now we're introducing a second football for soccer. Yes, it's another one.
Obviously, big one for EA was Dragon Age 3 Inquisition, which has got a lot of, I suppose,
Vaseline
anticipation behind it.
Yes.
I watched. Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying it's one of those weird games where people haven't paid attention to it for 2 games, and it's done quite well. It's been all right. It's not been as good as its big brother Mass Effect, but it's done okay. And then all of a sudden, like Inquisition's come out on the new machines and whatever, and it looks amazing, and everybody's like really getting, yeah, this is the game behind it. And I think they know that when they've been doing the design for it, because obviously you can't go too far back because you've got to start referencing characters who don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Like Mass Effect 3, where you can go back because you've had 2 games and everybody loves them, and you
Yeah.
go, oh, we're bringing all these characters back. You can't really do that. So they're having this Inquisition thing set up where they can bring old characters in, but they don't need to say they're old characters or anything like that. But it's like a little nod to the people, because you've been with us. Here's an old
Yeah.
character for you. Check it out.
But it's like Dragon Age has really divided fans immensely. Obviously, there's the Dragon Age 1 fans, there's the Dragon Age 2 fans, and very vastly different games. And
Yeah.
obviously, there's a lot of ride behind Dragon Age 3, especially I think more so with the Origins fans, hoping that it will be more like the first game.
From the trailer I watched earlier, which kind of had like, which was mostly kind of like cutscenes, end of the world, the Inquisition, blah blah blah. But the bits that I saw, I actually have a feeling it's going more kind of like hack and slash.
It's a lot more like the second one then, maybe.
It looks very more. No, because like the second one was reasonably hack and slash. I mean, I'm a fan of both. I like both the games.
Yeah.
Mass Effect's fantastic as well. And I think what you were saying about Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 you have to judge the games upon their own merits. Does fall into place. Like I did really enjoy both of them. The first one obviously more so because it was just the better game, like story wise. But from what I could see, you had like wearing big hulking huge like Alistair style armor. You can like sit forward and like rolling over dude's shoulders and like into the sword and the kill moves. And actually, it kind of looks open world as well because it was always kind of sort of like linear.
Yeah, I've got this understanding that it is open world, and you'll be going to like settlements, setting up trade routes and stuff like that. There is that kind of element to it.
So I think with that open worldness also comes the, it's kind of just not devolved, but kind of more, I don't know, like third person Far Cry, kind of like Skyrim in like third person, but modeled actually quite nicely rather than the Bethesda approach of just sort of having both options in there, sort of thing.
Yeah,
But that's that
I've heard though that with regards to the combat system, there is you can choose whether to go the more Dragon Age 2 route or the Dragon Age Origins route. I've
Oh,
heard.
that's good.
So they've
Yeah.
kind of implemented both, and you can do as much as of one as you want, or much of the other as you want. So I've heard. Whether that will be done well or to what the fans are expecting it to be done as, we'll find out.
So I'm pretty sure in 2 that you did both. You could, like, obviously, as you were saying, as Naz was saying, it's like a bit more like hack and slash and just kind of getting in there. You know, you're actually having to push for your attacks, whereas in Dragon Age, attack and you run up and you kind of like,
Yeah.
and then they die. Whereas, like, you know, you actually had to attack, but then you could also like pause and then go like Morrigan do this spell, like Alistair do this, then go, and then like kind of come back out of it, and then it would all happen.
Yeah.
Whereas, so I think they're probably going to run the same sort of system as 2, but with a bit more emphasis on the actual tactics, which is I think what people enjoyed from the first one anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then obviously the more announcements from them. Sims 4 coming out, I think later this year.
Oh yeah, it's Sims. Wow.
I mean, to be fair, I'm going to put my hands up. I do quite enjoy The Sims, occasionally playing it every now and then. It's kind of a fun game.
I get it. Believe me, I get it. It's the simulation of life, but it's become such a parody of itself now. Where like the first game was kind of like, oh, isn't life funny? And now isn't it like, okay, we've got all IKEA furniture now that you can use, and you can build your ideal house. Like, no, I just want to mess around with people's lives. Put this man in a box, watch him slowly crumble as he loses all his sanity. I'm bad.
Because it was like The Sims 4's announced, and then on Twitter, just every girl who was watching E4 was just like, Sims. I was like, oh, new Sims game then. Good.
Moving on. It's probably one of the a surprising, I suppose, announcement from them, but one that a lot of people have been like, oh, that looks really good. Battlefield Hardline.
Yeah, what was
rather a shocking, I think, announcement, seeing as Battlefield 4 is still broken.
But they've given it off to Visceral. Is it Visceral Games? It's headed up by former Dead Space man, whatever his name is, the big honcho behind it.
Okay.
Notes they've available to hand, but there's a different team this time, which is interesting to know because they've often said at DICE that they'll only give up Battlefield over their dead bodies almost. But now that they got this new team on board, they're doing a police type one, and yeah, it's all right actually. It'd be interesting to see how that would fare among like current Battlefield players as well as bringing in new people because it is subtly different in its own way. It's almost like a mod, if you will.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Cops and Robbers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and we'll see how it goes as well. But from some of the like beta, because obviously it's been in beta.
Yeah, played the beta.
I mean, I've not personally played it, but I saw the Cynical Brit Total Biscuit play a little bit of it on Twitch, and also our friend Always Room for Luke on the YouTube. Big shout out to you, my friend. I saw some of his content on it, and interesting concept by all means, the cops and robbers and all this, but from what I've seen, people seem to just be playing it like Battlefield.
Yeah.
Just shooting each other, that's it. Not sort of following the objectives of, okay, let's do this heist, run away with the money, sort of thing. So
I'd like to point out that only bad Battlefield players play like that.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like there was 4 of us, and we used to squad up in Battlefield 2 or like Battlefield 2. Yeah, squad up in like Battlefield 2 and Battlefield 3, and there was 4 of us. We all played one of every role, so we balanced our like team, and we were top squad every single time without foul. We just played the objective, defended the objective, and watched each other's backs and communicated with the rest of the team, which is what you meant to do. But then lots of people pick it up, and it's like, oh, it's like a hyper-realistic COD almost. And then they just run around, and everyone's a sniper, and it's just like hugely unhelpful.
Yeah.
So,
but I suppose
real players don't play the objective.
Yeah, but I suppose games like Battlefield, whether it's Hardline or Battlefield 4 or 3 or whatever, or even COD, games like with that online multiplayer, games like that are just better with friends, better with a party, better with a group, better with, so you can all do, as you were saying, Josh, communicate with each other, be a sort of tactical team.
Yeah.
Makes games like that much more enjoyable and fun to play.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because
Yeah,
from my experience of playing Call of Duty online, because believe it or not, I used to be pretty damn good at it actually. Everyone's in it for themselves. Everyone plays their own game,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And actually, like, surprisingly, it goes back to what I was saying as well about Battlefield, but it also applies to the same with Call of Duty. We used to play team tactical like 4-on-4, bunch of my friends, communication and team tactical. You just win every game.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah,
like,
and I used to play with a couple of
there's
friends
surprising,
playing Team Tactical, and that was fun.
there's surprising depth to games like Call of Duty and Battlefield if only you can get past most of the sort of like
Idiots.
that ethos and that community and the 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Just a bit like you can get past that. There is surprising depth to be had within, like, especially the sort of older titles.
Yeah, but hopefully that will, see how that turns out. I suppose see how that goes. But obviously Battlefield 4 still needs fixing, massively. But another big announcement, obviously for EA and fans of the series, Mass Effect 4.
Yeah, that was there was a lot of weird like bits where it's just like, oh, here's some games working on. Like they did it with Star Wars Battlefront, they did it with Mirror's Edge, and they did it with this game as well. And it was basically just people sat down at a computer screen and like just going, well, we're taking this back to the board. We're doing our research. We're looking at it in different ways and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you go in like, it's cool that you're talking about it, but it does indicate that they don't really have a lot else to talk about.
Yeah.
They're not ready to show it. I'm not sure whether that's
clearly.
indicative of the industry that we're in now, that if we don't get like an immediate reaction to sort of say, yes, this looks good, or you bit shit, actually. If we don't get that...
I suppose it's nice
Just
for the
a little
fans to know... Sorry, Josh, carry on.
I was going to say, it's just starting the hype train. That's all it is. It's just kind of,
yeah. I mean, I suppose it's nice to know for the fans anyway that it's announced, it's been in the works. But to be honest, I kind of expected it.
Oh yeah,
whether it was at last year's E3, this year's E3, next year's E3, I kind of expect that they will do more with Mass Effect. It's one of them series that's done so well.
Oh yeah.
They always said they would anyway. They said that after number 3, they'd take it away from Shepard, focus on different parts of the galaxy anyway, and
which is nice. I mean, it's such a big expanded universe. It's nice that they're going to do more with it.
The universe itself is huge, and the lore is super deep as well.
Yeah.
So you could, there's so much they could be doing with it if they, could be bothered to.
I say it's one of those again nice things where it's just kind of like EA are giving them the time and the space to do it. I mean, that's the one thing we haven't appreciated from new EA as opposed to old EA, for they are given the time and the space to develop this in private and not have too much pressure put upon them. I mean, you look at Activision and Ubisoft for that matter, and the way they pump out sequels to their big franchises. I mean, that's got to be a pressure cooker in itself.
Yeah,
but Call of Duty games, just because they're developed by the 2 different teams now.
Well, it's 3 now. It's 3 now.
Because it was like Treyarch and Infinity Ward or whatever, and you'd get like World at War, Black Ops 2, and you'd have 4 Modern Warfare, and then like whatever Ghosts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So like every team had 2 years to develop it, even though that they were like spewing them out at a rate of knots.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Now they've got 3 years, and I still don't think they'll do much more with it. There's so much potential.
3 separate studios, because I knew that Modern Warfare 3 was with, is it like it's like Raven something? I think it is.
They pieced together from various other teams because they lost like a lot of people from the
split into like Raven something, and I think like one developed the single player, one focused on the multiplayer, and then I don't know if they've actually gone into a separate game now as well.
I think it was Sledgehammer perhaps who are working on maybe the multiplayer aspects.
Yes, it is. I was trying to think of the third developer. It's Sledgehammer, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, moving on. Star Wars Battlefront 3, obviously, as you mentioned earlier, Naz. But this is a game obviously announced last year with an amazing 3-second teaser trailer. A game that I myself and many other fans have been hoping for, anticipating for so long. And I was thinking this year, this will be the year we'll see a proper trailer, whether it's another teaser trailer that's a bit longer, whether it's a gameplay trailer, or even just a CG trailer, just a trailer of some sort. And what did we get? A shitload of concept art, which is nice, and just interviews.
And a 2-second chunk at the end. If you got that,
Yeah.
you jumped on his speed and went boom, and that was it.
But nothing.
No.
I was very shocked.
I'm starting to think that this is getting a bit of the Duke Nukem effect now. I think we're starting to get to that point, like Battlefront 2, like one of my favourite games ever, like amazing game.
Phenomenal
Battlefront
game.
1, also excellent.
Yep.
Battlefront 3 has taken so long now. We've been waiting for it for like 10 years.
We've been wanting it for so long. It hasn't been in active development for that long at
No.
all. They only took it over last year, and they just
I mean,
came out with that teaser for it.
Pandemic made a start before they
Scrapped
were
it.
Bit the bullet.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there was, I think, a leaked many years. I can't remember when it was. Years ago.
Couple of
it was
years, and there's been a
2006
couple of
maybe.
leaks.
Might
Yeah.
have been. But there was a
Foil
leaked sort of like alpha trailer or alpha gameplay.
It was no, because it was. I think the first thing that we saw of Battlefront 3 before it was even officially announced, before anybody had even taken over it, was like another game that like the company who has it now. I think it might have been DICE at the time, like who had it then. They did their Battlefront 2 thing, and somewhere in the files of like Battlefront 2 or in Bad Company or Battlefront 3 was like a JPEG of a picture of Hoth.
Might have
And,
been
like,
mercenaries.
and that was the first things that we had. Like that was the first thing that we saw. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct me if
But
I'm wrong.
no, I was just a bit disappointed that we didn't actually see anything.
Yeah,
Really, all
there
it
was a lot
kind
of
of was the developers saying, you know, we're working hard on it, we're really excited about it, we're all Star Wars fans, you know, and to prove that they were Star Wars fans, it was nice to see them working at a desk with a model of a TIE fighter next to them. Oh, you must be Star Wars fans, I believe you, that's fine. But, you know, that's kind of all it was, and it was like, oh, we're really excited to do this, we're working so hard to make sure it appeals to Star Wars fans. It's like, great, but can I see a stormtrooper shoot a rebel or something? Anything?
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't hit him anyway, so it makes no difference.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying like, before about like getting that kind of closed door development as well. Like we've grown to expect this, and I think it's kind of nice that we've not really seen much of it. Obviously, it's infuriating as a huge Star Wars fan, as a huge Battlefront fan. It's infuriating that we haven't seen sod all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, at least it's kind of like behind closed doors. It's kind of like hopefully in reasonable hands. Like I think given that it's developed by the same people who did Battlefield, like at least the first like 2 or 3 were like quite good. So it's nice to know that we're actually going to get a Battlefront.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that it's in safe hands, and I suppose the pro to the trailer or the video that we got this year, excuse me, it wasn't like we got like here's a sort of gameplay trailer, or here's a CG trailer, whatever. I suppose having what we've got, we kind of know, I suppose, that they're taking their time with it.
Yeah.
In a sense, to try and make it, as they say, the best Battlefront game that they can, which is a good thing. I've got to admit, it's a good thing. It's nice to think that, oh, they're clearly not rushing it, because if they were like, here's a trailer and it's out next week, you'd be like, oh, hang on, slow down a second here.
I'd really love to do a game like that. Just like have it all developed, have it secretly done for ages and ages and ages, really, really anticipated, like, you know, a kind of sequel to like, you know, Battlefront or whatever, and have it all made, and then be like at E3, just be like, here's the full trailer. It's out next week, guys. It's been in development for like 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we had a few little instances like that. Obviously, EA, when they announced Battlefield Hardline, they were like, "Oh, here's Battlefield Hardline," blah 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 blah. Oh, by the way, it's in beta right now. We're like, whoa, okay, didn't expect that. Yeah,
I love like a weird stealth attack to the journos who were there. It's just like all the journalists are there. It's like, I was out now, and by the time you get back, it'll be over. It's like, what, really? Christ.
But just going back to what I was saying about Twitter and EA, and everyone saying, "Oh, this looks amazing! EA really pulled out of the bag." Blah 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 blah. That's great. Yes, Battlefield looks great. Dragon Age Inquisition, yep, fans are looking forward to that. Mass Effect 4, yeah, brilliant. Are EA gonna fuck it up? I don't know whether I can trust EA not to fuck it up in some way. So like the Star Wars Battlefront online, obviously the online's gonna be a big part of that game. DICE are probably going to do a great job with it, that's fine. But are EA going to push them to do things to make the online pay to win, to fuck it up, in that, you know, that's my worry.
Not going to lie, we'll literally cry for days.
Yeah.
We'll literally just weep for days. If it's pay to win, if it's downloadable. You know, like Battlefield 3 was really frustrating, where it was like, you can't get on this server because you haven't got the back to Karkin maps, and it's just like, well, I just want to play the game. Like, I don't give a shit like about the additional maps. I just want to play the game. Like,
That's the thing. Like, I trust the
like that stupid server thing. In the
Yeah.
end, was the reason that
Yeah.
I finished. I just stopped playing Battlefield because it was just so infuriating.
Yeah, I
just hope
trust
that it's not
I
the same
trust the
about-
publishers to make a good game. I do.
Yep.
Sorry, the publishers, the
developer.
developers
Developer.
to do a good game. I don't trust EA to not
Right,
fuck it
yeah,
up.
just-
Wait and see, but
It comes
I'm
out
hoping they
with
don't. but
pre-order DLC map content and then be worried.
Fucking day one DLC, the bane of my life.
That one DLC will just kill himself.
Yeah.
Just, that's it.
So right before we just spend the whole time talking about EA, let's move on to the Ubisoft conference, which was pretty good, I thought.
It's mental.
Alright,
It's
I
mental.
suppose, yeah.
I love
Obviously,
Ubi.
Far Cry 4, massive announcement for them, and I suppose a lot of fans very much looking forward to it, and hopefully it can follow the same vein that Far Cry 3 did.
Slightly different, I think. I don't know what they actually show, because obviously, like yourself, I didn't actually watch any of it.
They
Yeah,
basically
I
Did
think
they
it's
do
set in the
something
Himalayas
like-
or somewhere, I think.
it's set in
No,
the
no,
Himalayas. It's Pripyat or something like that.
It's set in a totally like fictional place that's kind of like that was inspired by the Himalayas. There's lots of like
Yeah.
verticality. Anywhere you can see, you can climb. Kind of there's but it's got weird things. It's got like elephants in it. There's like now
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but there's now co-op in the actual
I think that's a
story.
good thing.
That's
Like,
a really interesting co-op actually. There's like it's a Sony
it
exclusive,
Smith
and it's the
Wesson?
idea if you don't have the game, you can still drop in with your mate and play his
Yeah.
copy of Far Cry 4. It's amazing.
yeah, no, I thought that was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I loved that they added that at the end because that's definitely, you know, a come play our game, you know, sort
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
gimmick, you know.
Amazing.
So that was awesome. But no, so I saw some gameplay trailer where I think you kind of look out of a window. There was a jeep driving next to you. You shoot the window. You sort of
you
jump
saw the
over,
first
open the
5
door,
minutes.
rip the guy out, drive the. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
yeah,
So if they
vehicle
pull it off,
tactics.
hopefully it won't be like a Watch Dogs thing where it's not actually in the game. But
Yeah, don't
know.
talk to me about Watch Dogs.
Yeah, they did make too big a point of it to say that it's not, because they said that like fans had asked for vehicular takedowns. They'd asked for like little bits of co-op, because obviously now, like from what I saw, you can't do single player story missions. Like, you know, it doesn't affect your single player campaign, but like all those strongholds, all of those like radio towers, like I'm pretty sure even like the trolls or like the Rakyat or whatever the equivalent in the Himalayas is.
yeah,
You know, that's all fair game in co-op. So it means that you don't have to like do, you know, we were saying earlier, you kind of go from like place to place to place to place to place without actually doing any of the story games. So it's nice that you don't have to do it alone.
yeah.
And that you're having exactly the same, like, you know, you can share that experience with whoever as well, which is quite nice.
I think that's one thing that I definitely think Skyrim games like
I
that
was just going to say that.
can like benefit from, you know, is just that either couch co-op or obviously online co-op. I suppose as close we've come to sort of a game like that happening was Fable 2
Fable
and
3.
3, but even then it was
Yeah.
done terribly in my opinion. That was not good
Fable
multiplayer
3 was
co-op.
okay. It was okay.
Yeah.
I played Fable 3 a few months ago with my friend because he needed some of the achievements to see bits and bobs, like, and that was fine. Fable 2 was just you're like a little orb, weren't you, in somebody else's world, and just kind of like whizzed around. It was a bit weird. Didn't really,
Yeah.
there wasn't any really interaction as such. It was like, at least in Fable 3, you got to like stand with your friend and then like kill dudes, and like you weren't like tethered like you are in lots of games.
Yeah,
So that was
but no, it's
nice.
definitely an interesting concept with Far Cry 3, and I think hopefully that will be a success upon Far Cry 3. Obviously, Ubisoft, one that was a game that was announced last year. I think was it last year, or it might have been the year before it was announced. But The Division, Tom Clancy's The Division.
Yeah, it was last year.
I'm so hyped for this. Oh
Yeah,
my
it looks
God.
awesome.
Yeah, still
I am
looking
so
good.
hyped for this game. Like me and my friend Aaron, like before, like as they did the Xbox One, like me and my friend, like we always play Tom Clancy titles together. We're huge Rainbow Six fans. We love Sprint Style. Like we love those kinds of like co-op,
Tactical
awesome, like,
shooter.
timing kind of like perfection. Those kinds of things. Like we really love those. We sat down. We were like, look, okay. Aaron was like, I'm getting the Xbox One because of these reasons. I don't give a shit. I'm getting the Xbox One. He was like, I was like, okay, fine. And then I saw Resistance, and I was like, oh, I'm getting Xbox One as well, because there is literally not a chance in hell that I am missing to be able to sit down with my best mate and play a game like a Clancy title on the next gen with my friend and have it in that sort of really awesome setting as well. Like, I love everything you can do with it. I love everything I've seen. The
Does look
gameplay,
interesting. I hope that it's a success, because I'm not generally interested in those sort of games.
Yeah.
But that's a game that's looks interesting to me.
I just hope it just doesn't come down with watchdogitis, because that could very well happen to it.
It's a bit of a worry.
But I think we're all kind of a bit apprehensive now, just over anything that might look good but could potentially be fucked up. Now just has Watchdog syndrome.
Yeah.
Like that's how it is, and it's every game now we're going to be like, oh, it's good. I hope they don't fuck it up. We're just going to be like, Watch Dogs.
I suppose because Watch Dogs was one of those big AAA titles that, you know, the developer said, we're doing this, we're doing a kind of a Molyneux effect. We're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and here's everything you can do. Look at the trailers, look how amazing they are. And then all of a sudden, when you get to play the game, oh, where's that aspect? Where's that thing that you said we could do? Where's the graphics doing? Why are the graphics not doing this? What's with the rainfall not being how it was? All these sort of things, you know. I suppose it's a worry for any game, but I suppose even more now since, as you said, Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
But no, I think Tom Clancy's The Division. I mean, I think Tom Clancy games have been pretty good anyway, haven't they? They've not.
Pretty solid.
I adore Clancy. Every Clancy title I've ever played, I've loved. Like I started all the way back with Rainbow Six Vegas, like the original. Played two for days, like literally. Like I've got like all the multiplayer achievements on that, bar like one, I think. Like I even played Hawks, even though it's shit. Like both of them I played. Splinter Cell DA, Splinter Cell Conviction. I've not got around to Blacklist yet because I'm totally broke, but I'm so excited to play that. Like I'm really, really looking forward to The Division.
Yeah, I mean, as a whole, it's had a pretty good track record for the game. So hopefully, but this game does look good. I look forward to seeing what happens with it personally.
I'm always really happy that it's in the hands of Ubisoft as well, because Ubisoft don't tend to fuck it up too
No,
badly.
they are generally a good developer, Ubisoft. Yeah. But talking of Rainbow Six Siege as well. Another one that quite exciting.
Is that the entirely multiplayer one that was meant to be Patriots?
Not sure.
Patriots was a different thing. It was supposed to be the idea that you'd be an anti-terrorist group and there'd be like terrorists going out. I think they've adapted some of the concepts in it and made it into a kind of almost like a MOBA, I guess, in the same kind of sense that it's just like an arena battle. But I don't know. Ubisoft this year have always been pretty decent, been really alright, but they've fallen into some kind of like sexism loop, because he had the whole thing with Assassin's Creed Unity, which is like, well, where's the female characters? Oh, we're not doing them. So, oh, okay, that's a bit weird. And then with this one, there was the idea that because the flag or the person you got to protect is female, it was kind of another trope was being crossed there, and it was kind of a bit backward almost. I don't think it was anything bad on their part, I think they've just been a bit ignorant. But focus on the game itself rather than that. I think the concepts of it was very, very good. I like the ideas behind it. It'd be interesting.
Destructible environments as well. You know, hopefully that's played off well.
With the Clancy titles, like it does. Like the one thing I will say is it looks very Rainbow Six. That's of Rainbow Six.
And I'd be interested to see what kind of tools and kind of gear you can get as a terrorist. I suppose you'd be more explosions based, more like, you know, doing damage, because you're not going to give a damn about the house or the hostage, really. You're just using it as a shield to protect yourself. But it'd be interesting because obviously they showed it all from the point of view of the anti-terrorist unit. They were using stuff like snake cams and little bits and bobs and stuff like that. Yeah, that's it.
It will be interesting. It's definitely one of those games that obviously is part of a series, the Rainbow Six series. As long as it, I suppose, stays true to its roots and its gameplay and what people are familiar with obviously adding the new ideas, because it keeps it fresh, keeps it new, keeps it exciting. And it's definitely one of those games, I suppose, you get a good group of your mates together and play. It's going to be a really fun title, really fun game.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you. It's always like the pleasure of playing games like that, though, is that even on your own, they're still super fun to play, just because they're really tense.
Yeah. provided the AI is good and not stupid and just doesn't run in
Well,
there.
the
Hey
AI's
terrorists! Oh no!
Terrorist.
on Rainbow Six. Kind of has to be just because
Oh,
otherwise you wreck it.
Pikachu fell down. Carry on.
Ah, Pikachu.
Carry on your lives.
That's it for.
Yeah. So, Assassin's Creed Unity. Obviously, big Ubisoft title to be announced this year. I see more of it, and I've got to say, being a non-fan of Assassin's Creed for quite a while and not being bothered by the series at all, there's a lot of elements in it that do interest me this year. With it.
Yeah.
I'm a non-fan. I'm gonna let Naz go first because I'm
Yeah,
just
sure. Let me shoot because I've played quite a few of them. Assassin's Creed 3 broke my heart, even though Assassin's Creed 2 did so much to repair it from the first one.
Yeah,
There was
definitely.
so much love about that. If you haven't played Assassin's Creed 2, only play that game.
I've not.
'cause
I played the first one when it came out, and I was blown away by it. I thought it was awesome, really good game. Yes, it was very repetitive, and yes, there were a lot of things that I'm sure Assassin's Creed 2 repaired, as I've heard. I heard that they really listened to the fans and repaired a lot. But sadly, I've
Oh.
not played 2.
It's one of the best sequels ever, Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
2. It's
2 is
phenomenally
fantastic.
made.
As
It's,
somebody
But
who's not Assassin's Creed at all, 2 is
Obviously,
fantastic.
three was a massive downfall, as we all know. 4 kind of brought it back a little bit. I mean, the only thing that really kind of interests me about Assassin's Creed 4 is the Pirates of the Caribbean feel. That's
yeah,
it.
it's it really, isn't it? It's
Pirates of the
like,
Caribbean.
if you like the boats bit from the first one, you were in heaven, and I didn't like the boats bit from the third one. I think I was one of
Yeah.
the few people that didn't like the boats bit.
Fair
That was
enough.
just me. I just wanted to
Yeah.
be around stabbing people. But it looks like it's gone back to the stabbing people now with the French Revolution, which I'm surprised they haven't done sooner. But then maybe that was too obvious. Maybe that's something they were waiting for
But
more tech to come along.
There's a few things that I think they've altered about with the gameplay a little bit. I think they're trying to implement a bit more stealth into the game by the looks of
Yeah.
some of the gameplay trailers.
And 3 other people in there. I don't think so somehow.
I think
was
the
amazing
multiplayer
well
definitely interests me. It looks fun. It looks fun. The
Yeah,
multiplayer.
it does look fun, but it's nowhere going to be near as well choreographed as that.
Oh no,
trailer was.
no,
'Cause
yeah,
it's
no,
like
definitely
I'm
not.
patiently walking. Oh, look at
Yeah.
us staring at. No one's going to do that. Some bogus played it before. Is just going to charge on through. It's like, oh, I know the way. It's just like he's gone. He's gone.
orchestrated, and then it'll be like, oh shit, well we best we fucked that up. First retry that, and then like it's never going to be as smooth as the gameplay thing.
Or it
I
might
think-
be. It might be, but then you'll get that one guy who's just going to be Leroy Jenkins, just run in and just get shot. It's bound to
Yeah,
happen.
stealth is
That'll be
something
me.
I always begged, but I always begged of Assassin's Creed, and was just never ever given ever. And it's kind of the one thing that actually super upsets me about the games. Like I mean, as I said when I was rambling on about Clancy, like I do really enjoy my sort of like stealthy kind of titles and playing games kind of like as quietly as I can and just
Yeah.
as a test of skill.
Yeah.
That was kind of the thing that always, because it was like, well, you climb onto the rooftop and then you jump off and then you fight 9 people off like it was nothing and then you stab the guy and then
Yeah,
you
I
run
mean,
away.
that's the one thing. You've never been really an assassin. You've just been a badass who can just take down a shitload of dudes. Where you think as an assassin, it should be more stealthy. It should be, you want to
Broken
try to
down.
avoid melee combat as much as possible. And hopefully they're implementing that a bit more in this game, because it kind of seemed like they were from the gameplay trailers and that.
What I will say about Unity, 4-player Assassin's Creed, I'm a bit sketchy about. The idea of actually getting riling the crowd up, I like the idea of actually using like that kind of like the environment to aid you.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I like the fact that they're kind of starting with the stealth thing a little bit more. I'm still sketchy about just that 4-player thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, it's one to sort of wait to see the reviews. Definitely, it's not a title that I would go out and just grab straight away. But it's definitely a lot of things that do interest me about it, and it's definitely got that new next-gen feel, where like
Yeah.
you see the people walking, the assassin was just walking through the streets or whatever, and you can just walk into any sort of building more or less, or you can see people through the windows of their house and they're doing stuff, and you can see
That's
that.
actually, that was another thing. I actually made a point of sort of noting that mentally and totally forgotten until you'd said that. I like the fact now that every building that you climb up is kind of like accessible or has a
Yeah.
personality rather than just
And
like plot.
one thing is like the sort of
Yeah.
side quest mentality. I expect it will probably be very um, of the same vein as say maybe MMO side quests are, where it's like go collect 20 of these. But you can walk into a house where there's a woman crying over her husband who's just been murdered, and you kind of go about and find the murderer. I don't reckon it will be sort of like a mystery solver or Sherlock Holmesy in any sense like that, but it'll probably literally be just track down the guy and kill him. But you know, it's a new idea which hopefully can be expanded upon and will, you know, be a bit more variety to play in the game.
It's kind of like Radiant in a sense,
Yeah,
where it's kind of like, oh, something happens, and then you as an adventurer or hero can then go and act upon it, or you can just wander off and leave it as it is.
mm.
So I think that's yeah. I think more kind of like not necessarily RPGs, but kind of games where you're centered around something as prolific as the French Revolution. It's nice
Yeah.
to have those scenarios where it's like, the soldiers killed my husband.
Feels like the world's alive. Makes it
Yeah.
feel like the world's alive and living. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
that was always
awesome.
something that I really liked about Far Cry as well. Just kind of like everything always seems, you'd kind of hear gunfire like in the far distance.
Yeah, there's things constantly going on. Yeah,
It's the distance, and it's kind of nice to,
Mm.
just a bit of depth, a bit of immersion is nice.
yeah. No,
Then-
definitely agree with you. So we'll see how that happens. See how that goes, I suppose. And a big last sort of one on the Ubisoft sort of lineup game. I think it was released last week. Valiant Hearts: The Great War.
Yeah, look very artsy. They've used that UB Art engine again.
Hmm.
Very, very artsy. It's very surprising it came out so quickly as well, but
What-
that's the
again-
world we live in.
Yeah, but again, one of those games that, as I was saying earlier, those sort of indie style looking AAA titles, it's definitely one of them. Definitely looks kind of interesting, and bit of a history lesson as well. Bit of a tearjerker maybe it looked.
Yeah.
But yeah, already out, so go have a look at it. So safe to move on, I think, to the Sony press conference.
Oh yeah.
One for me, which was quite an exciting one, personally, seeing some of those new titles that are new IPs as well. I think it was definitely one for it. But Destiny, we see a lot more of Destiny, and the
Yeah.
announcement of a white PS4 bundle with Destiny, pretty cool. And obviously, we're getting ever closer to Destiny's release. Anyone looking forward to it?
I'm massively looking forward to it. It's made. I've played the alpha of it, and I was just blown away by it. It's got that lovely Halo quality to it,
Hmm.
like these big open world environments, and you can go and do little instances and quests and stuff. It gave me a real feel for how this game was going to play, because I often looked at it and went, okay, is there going to be like separate quests and stuff like that? How do you drop in and drop out? And finally seeing all that come together and seeing how that works. So, okay, this is quite clever. What's going on
Is
here?
it all
I
very
really like
immersed
it.
in just the way it works then? Is it kind of like a Grand Theft Auto, the Red Dead kind of multiplayer where it's like you're just kind of in and then you just kind of the world acts around you, or is it like a lobby-esque system like it was in Halo?
It's kind of like where you lobby up at the start as you would do in something like Battlefield or something like that. You assemble into fire teams if you want to go in with a few of your chums, and then you'll pick like a map. I think the one map that they had for the alpha was called the Cosmodrome, which is like almost an old Russian base type deal, and you go down there, and the map in it is absolutely huge. Like you got a whole surface area to go across, which is big enough already. But then there's also little underground bits, and everything's like different levels in there. It's kind of like very Borderlandsian almost.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Just
Sorry,
sort of, sorry, I'll carry on. So you do like exploration. There's like quest markers down, so you can pick these beacons up, and they will tell you what quests you can do, and you try and guide you through areas and put you into new areas of the map. It's just really, they put a lot of time and effort into making this thing. It's one of the reasons why I prefer this kind of design, the actual purposeful design, as opposed to procedural design, because everything feels very purposeful. It feels very engineered into a way to get you to work in a certain manner, and I'm just really excited for it. It's amazing. It's really, really amazing.
See where it comes out. It's definitely been one of those sort of hotly anticipated titles for quite a while. So I think it's out later this year, isn't it?
It's September.
September, yeah. So very, very close indeed.
It's a game when I saw it, was it E3 last year, I think, that kind of just like previewed it and stuff, or was it PAX? There was something about it last year, and I remember seeing it and like the the big deal they made out of it. But I'm just like, I think I'm in that stage that you were at the start now, where it was kind of like, well, how does it, on a functional level, how
Yeah.
does it work? How does it play? Is it purely
Because
like
I originally thought it was an
or-
MMO, but they were saying it's not an MMO, so I was
No.
kind of like, okay, so what sort of game is it then? It was kind of a bit confusing, but obviously as more's come out about it, it's definitely one of those sort of interesting titles, which again is
It's
going to be
only
fun to play with a couple of mates.
Oh, absolutely.
it's not cleared up for me, but like I as far as I'm still aware, it's kind of like an FPS MMO. It's kind of like instances and quests and those
Yeah.
things. But I'm not sure
That's
how the
about
actual
right.
work itself divides up. Like whether you can go from like your bunker into like the next like you can in Borderlands, where you just go from one place into
Well,
the
you
next
you
area.
have a centralized ship, and you sort of fly above
Oh,
the
kind of like Mass
bottom of the
Effect
earth,
style.
and
Kind of
you pick the
seems to
map
work.
where you're going on. It's all level based. I mean, that's the one thing I might say about it. It's not going to be as inviting, perhaps in the beginning when you start off at like low level, and there's
Yeah.
like bits of the map, and you're gonna have to unlock things and all the rest of it. But I can just see myself having a really good time with it. Just really good time, and just keep coming back to it. It's going to give a lot.
Mm.
Yeah. I
Well,
think
look forward to its progress.
I'd be
Yeah.
encouraged to pick it up at the start so everyone's at the same level, because I always found that picking up get like other games similar to it, like Call of Duty or whatever. It's by the time that everyone's got the best guns or the best maps or the best things, then it's kind of spoils. If you get it at the same time, it's probably a bit nicer because you can play with everyone else.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the match, the actual competitive mode is far separate from the co-op mode. So you're not going to
That's
have
nice.
people jump into your like map to like
Gank you.
hurt you. They're going to be there because they're going to want to kill stuff in that map. That won't be you. That's real nice division there.
It's nice.
Cool.
That's good.
So next one on the Sony list, which I'm so excited for and so looking forward to, Uncharted 4: The Thief's End.
Mm. What's your thoughts about
Te-
potential story with that then?
Teaser trailer. We didn't see any gameplay sadly, but it's an interesting one. I've got to say, with what we kind of had from that teaser trailer. But I think the story's going to be good. I think it's going to be good because obviously we're finding out why Nathan Drake has, after however many years off he's had from treasure hunting, why he's been brought back into it, why he's doing all this again, and then what's happened to the relationship between Nathan and I forget her name. Elena, yeah.
Because
And
he is still wearing the ring in there. There was a few little clues. So I can find one now because there was a bit of writing on the cage. But because as it pans across, he's walking into the jungle. There's a cage. There's a bit of writing on there.
Definitely think it's going to be a bit of a sort of Mediterranean sort of piratey setting, by the looks of it all. But no, I've loved the Uncharted series. I think it's a phenomenal series. If you've got PlayStation, it's one of those series you need to have.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one of them great story-driven shooter games, and I'm heavily looking forward to the fourth title in the series. Definitely see where that's going to go and take them.
And what's really nice about that is the fact that not only does it say at the start this is catch using PS4, but I believe them.
Yeah.
I believe them because they did the same thing with The Last of Us, and that looked amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely, it did look good. So next on the order is the game I'm kind of looking forward to, and the more I find out about it, the more it intrigues me, and that's the Order 1886.
Yeah, that's
very interesting title, very interesting IP. Obviously set in a sort of parallel universe, Victorian London, with a little bit steampunky aesthetically, and a lot of supernatural elements to it. Looks very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the developers behind it used to do God of War PSP games, and now they're really stepping up to do this massive game for them.
Yeah,
it just looks very exciting from that trailer in particular. I mean, one of the things people have noted about that game is the facial animation and the way that's captured it. And whenever I think of that kind of stuff, I always think back to when I saw Tangled and how I was impressed in that film how the facial movement worked. And I feel the same about the Order because it just looks really good.
It looks seamless as well. A lot of I was seeing some of the interviews on it. There's in the trailer. There's a lot of sort of almost seamless from cutscene to gameplay, and a lot of people were asking the devs, we see it in the trailer, but obviously that's just easy to edit together and make it look smooth and seamless. But what surprises them is that when they actually go to play it, it is how it is in the trailer. It is apparently seamless. So that idea, I think that's very next gen to do.
Yeah.
Seamless cutscene into gameplay. Very well done.
I like the idea that it's a slightly different IP as well. It's not your kind of average, your average bear as such. It's nice.
Yeah.
Kind of exploring different avenues. I mean, obviously, I'm sadly probably not going to get a chance to play it unless I smile very nicely at you, Rob, at some point. But
Flashed out his teeth.
How much you willing to pay? Huh?
Let you kick my ass
£5
more
for each
than
level.
Pipping out the PS4.
Make my money back on it.
I promise the next time we RP, I won't just outright kill you.
Okay. Oh, right, I rolled a natural 20. No, I thought that was a natural one, Rob. Oh, okay, DM. I think you're dead.
The power of the DM knows all.
But yeah, no, like it's definitely the more I find out about it, the more it interests me, the more I look forward to it, and it's definitely going to be one of those interesting story-driven shooters that I hope is good and engaging and has got a good story and has possibly something that could become a PS4 series, maybe.
I've got
That's
a good
real
hope behind it.
franchise.
It's
Is
got
it
that
just
kind
because
of Bungie game feel about it, because Bungie games always they implant the lore into your brain and they make you think about things. They get a lot of mystery, and there's a lot of mystery in this game.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward
it's
to it.
nice because they're not going to have to give them stupid names either, because it'll be like the Order 1887, 8080.
Yeah.
Just onward.
The Order 2 years later. The Order the year before. The Order before it was called The Order, when it was called something else.
We ordered 1886 last week.
Last week on The Order.
The previous day DLC. Brilliant. So much potential. See, we should work for them.
Oh,
That's, by the way, that is day one DLC. The Order, the previous day.
DLC, yeah.
Look forward to that, guys.
Early access.
70 quid, mate. 70 quid.
So next game from Software, Bloodborne.
Yes, I'm mega
looks
excited.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh god, it's going to
Another,
be like
I
Dark
suppose,
Souls.
Dark Souls-esque title.
Oh, yeah, it's going to
This
be like
is one
Dark
that's
Souls.
totally slipped my radar, guys.
I think it looked to me a little bit Van Helsing-esque.
Yeah, where it's
Yeah.
from what I've understood of the vague small bits the story I've been able to pick up is that you're infected or you've got some kind of curse on you and you've come to this big town to go find this cure for it. But obviously people have gone mental trying to get this cure, so that's why the world is all in disarray a bit. It's so exciting, so exciting.
I suppose to describe it, it's probably going to be a bit Dark Soulsy in that respect of like sort of difficulty, and by the sounds of it anyway, and the look of it, I think it probably is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of set in this, I suppose, Van Helsing-y world. So there's obviously the supernatural, but it's in that sort of time era, I guess.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty much like that, and by the looks of it, you're obviously some sort of demon hunter or something like that, I guess.
Yeah.
Who's been infected, and it's probably going to be very, very much similar to Dark Souls, I reckon. Hopefully there's enough difference to make it interesting in its own series.
This is where I kick in with my knowledge of Dark Souls and whatever, because they were saying about this. The idea behind Dark Souls is that it's very defensive gameplay. You've got to keep your shield up, keep backing off, keep defending. But throughout all the leaked bits of gameplay trailer and that major trailer in the free conference itself, he doesn't have a shield or anything like that. He's got no way of properly defending himself. So the idea is that it's going to be offensive attacking, which completely flips things on its head, which is going to be
It's going to be nice because it makes it slightly faster paced gameplay. Though you've got to be careful though if it's very Dark Souls-ish. The game is just going to punish you. Like if you are like too bold with a stroke, if you know that you should be backing away, like the game is just going to wreck you.
Yeah,
I suppose it's just the same as Dark Souls, though. It's going to be a very tactical game, a game that you're really going to have to think about. But when in Dark Souls, you think more about the defensive, but there'll be, I suppose, it will try and pull you into a different mentality of tactics with the game, with Bloodborne,
Yeah,
and what you
absolutely.
do. But no, looking forward to seeing where that goes and where that takes us, and hopefully that'll be an interesting title. Moving on, another game that me and my girlfriend especially are very much looking forward to, Little Big Planet 3.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? Jesus.
Yeah.
They didn't, like, I don't know who's handled it this time. Obviously, it's not Media Molecule because they're off doing special projects.
Oh, is it not?
No, it's been pimped out to somebody else. But
Oh.
obviously, they've got the core mechanics behind it, and they've
Yeah.
just added in a few extra characters and stuff that you can be as, and they all have a different abilities and whatever. But the amazing thing about it, and this is really amazing, all those old maps you never got a chance to play, all those user created stuff, that's all coming forwards. That's
Oh,
amazing.
brilliant. Awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
No, awesome, because that's one of the great things about Little Big Planet is obviously that the fan base, the player base has been able to create all these amazing maps and all these amazing worlds and stuff, and I think that's one of the definite draws of Little Big Planet that just makes it so replayable and accessible to anyone and everyone. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with it, and I'm kind of hoping it'll be a little bit more like Little Big Planet 1. I enjoyed Little Big Planet 2, but the story felt really forced. Obviously there was a story
Yeah.
for Little Big Planet 1, but it was kind of minimal. But I liked it and it was good and it was still engaging and it still kept my interest. But Little Big Planet 2 was like, here's a proper story, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, it's good, but yeah. So
It doesn't really need a
in my
story.
ignorance,
no,
in my ignorance in never having like owned a PlayStation like 3 or like obviously a 4,
Yeah.
I never actually got the chance to play Little Big Planet, and I always just saw it as like a user, a user sandbox kind of like you just jumping out and out of your friends' worlds, and like the
Yeah.
idea was like I always kind of saw it as kind of like a Mario-esque game, like a platform thing. I didn't actually
Yeah.
realise there was
fair.
more to it. There was more.
yeah,
to
no,
it.
I mean, obviously there's a single player sort of campaign, I suppose, with each of the games. And they're interesting, fun, and good to play through and stuff. But I just kind of enjoyed it a bit more when it was kind of more simple in Little Big Planet 1, where it was just like, oh, there's this guy who's kidnapping people from these different worlds that you sort of go to and you know go about them. But it felt in Little Big Planet 2 there was this real proper, almost forced storyline that felt kind of unnatural, I suppose, to Little Big Planet, with its real kind of simplified I don't know, simplified idea.
It's got simple gameplay and stuff like that, but it's for the
But
really
it's not
clever
to say
people.
it's not difficult or
Oh, yeah.
challenging, because it really is. It's a really great game. Really love
Yeah.
the series.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
what I liked most about Little Big Planet 2 wasn't anything to do with the story. It was the fact that they could introduce new game types in there. So
Yeah.
you could change the camera angle and stuff like that, and it led to some really interesting results. And I think
Yeah.
if they carry that kind of mentality over and continue to give the players those kind of tools and those kinds of ways of working and different gadgets to have in there,
That
and stuff like
freedom.
yeah,
Yeah.
that freedom, and just not
Yeah.
complicate it up too much with story
No.
and stuff like that. Just have it. I don't know.
And
like you say,
hopefully as well, the new characters that they've added as well will add a new era of gameplay to it and a new sort of interesting slant on it. And I look forward to it. So I think it's safe to move on probably to the last one, the Nintendo press conference, probably the most surprising one. And for me, I think Nintendo definitely pulled it out of the bag this year with regards to the Wii U.
It was interesting. I'll say this much. There was a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, Nintendo won or whatever," but they only really talked about a handful of games. Really, I mean, don't get me wrong. They went into detail about these games. They broke them down, how they were going to play, and what they were going to be like, and the thoughts they were going for that. And that was really interesting to watch from a standpoint of somebody who's interested in games and certainly the way they're made. But in terms of somebody who wanted like Nintendo to come out swinging, going, "Okay, we've got this, 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 and this." It really wasn't a lot of substance there. There was a lot of style, that went on, but it wasn't kind of like a lot of content at the end of the day. I think people have gotten excited about not too much there.
We have a friend who has had her Wii U since like day one.
Yeah.
It kind of sits behind her television, like.
I think it was a white Wii U, but it's now black. Like the amount of dust it's collected, I think it's become a black Wii U.
She just hasn't had a chance to play it just because like, and she'll defend it to the she'll defend it to the hilt, but like,
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like, well, you have literally no games to play on it at all. But like I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm not even going to watch the Nintendo one because of the following. And I just went, okay, so we're going to have Mario IP, Smash Bros IP, like, you know, and then what was the other? It was like a Zelda IP and then Pokemon. And then, like, lo and behold, that's pretty much what happened. Give or
But
take.
I mean, it's looking hopeful. I know that Nintendo, yes, they just sort of rinse and repeat games, but you know, there's some kind of new ideas, a few new little IPs in there, and I hope that's enough to save the Wii U and gauge a bit of interest for other developers to start publishing and making games for the Wii U.
There's a really interesting point I'll make right now, particularly about Zelda, the new Zelda that they're doing, because they've come out and said they've done open world. Now, there aren't a lot of Japanese developers, if any, who have really done open world.
I'd like to step in and just say I was reading an article earlier where the head designer of that game says it's not open world.
Is it not?
He's actually stressed that it is an open world.
Okay, that's interesting then.
Because find out, I suppose.
The way they were talking about it is the fact you could go places without having those kinds of obstructions that you normally have with Zeldas, but maybe there was a mistranslation.
Suppose we'll see. But you know, Super Smash Bros. You know, looks interesting. I'm a fan of Smash Bros. The new Legend of Zelda for the Wii U. Splatoon, which doesn't.
I like Splatoon.
It looks interesting, but it's nothing that really, you know, is going to capture me. I don't think it's not. It's not a system seller. It's not a system seller.
It's not a system seller, but it's certainly an interesting game.
There's a lot of some cool ideas there. That maybe you might switch up the sort of first-person shooter. It's always interesting to see those weird, sort of unique first-person shooters like that, and even Plants vs Zombies: Garden Warfare. You know, those sort of unique first-person shooters.
If you not play that game, viewers just buy that game. It's incredible. It's so fun.
Captain Toad Treasure Hunter as well. Nice little awesome Captain Toad game. I'm a fan of Toad. Yoshi's Woolly World, which looks the cutest game, yet the most wrong game in a sense, where you're almost eating your friend and pooing them out to throw them. Cute but strange. Xenoblade Chronicles X now has a proper title, a game that now I've seen a little bit of it. It's not my cup of tea. Not interesting. But you know, Hyrule Warriors, obviously another Zelda title, which we've known about for a while, but is being shown off. So that's cool. Mario Maker.
Sorry, just to backpedal about what I was saying before. I found the article. He doesn't like. So Miyamoto doesn't like to call Zelda on the Wii U open world. We use the term to make it easier for the consumers to understand.
So
that's the quote.
Maybe a hybrid style then, maybe.
When developed software, we use this term at E3 in order to make it easier for the consumers to understand. The term means there is a larger world in which the players can do numerous things daily. So it's still linear, but you've got more.
I suppose there'll be like zones, large sort of sandbox-esque zones. That's what it sounds like, really, to me.
Well, this is coming from the company that just called their sequel to their console Wii U, so confusion is meant to be coming part and parcel.
It is condescending though when they're saying that it's we did it on purpose to make it easier for the fans. It kind of makes Nintendo, like them saying that their fans are a little bit, you know, mentally deficient. Yeah. If you had like Microsoft or Sony saying that, like fans would just be ripping them to bits, like saying, "Well, you said the game's open world, wasn't it? Open world." Like, I think it's just because Nintendo's kind of like the old granddad that, like, you know, you should hit him with the stick.
I suppose.
You wake him up to see if he's still working on Star Fox.
Well, there is Star Fox Wii U, isn't there? That's kind of teased.
Weird though.
Yeah, kind of unexpected, but
it was so weird though, because it was like me and Mark was talking about it in the conference, and he's blurred out on the screen on the gamepad. It's just like, oh, how are you all doing? I'm going to have a lovely chat with you about nothing, but you know full well what's going on behind me. And there was a shot later on of him with Star Fox in the background, unblurred. It's just like, well, I knew that. So why are you trying to hide it? I get it, you want to be a bit protective of it, but
suppose it's Nintendo trying to have a bit of hype behind them.
Yeah.
And tease stuff I suppose they don't understand what teasing stuff is. They think, oh, maybe if I just talk to you, but there's a picture of Star Fox behind me. Oh, will the fans get it? Oh, I don't know. Are we teasing a new Star Fox game? Maybe. I don't know.
Like Nintendo fans are always really diehard anyway, so you don't really
Yeah.
need to like you don't need to tease in the same way as you do with Star Wars, where you get like the
Yeah.
one concept art. Like
Yeah.
you can literally just put Star Wars in the back, and then like fans know.
But
Like
do
it's
do
not.
Nintendo think that their fans are so diehard that they think you guys love Mario, so why not make your own Mario game, Mario Maker?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
We're done with making the same game for the past 20 years. Now it's your turn.
It's just like, I just don't understand. It's just like, well, you know what, guys? I'm kind of fresh out of ideas. Well, do you have any ideas for the new IP? Oh, I don't know. You see that software that we've got on our Mac? Can you just like port that to the Wii? Yeah, cool. Right, let's sell them that.
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like to me. It seems very lazy.
I don't know. I think it might have been a think of like, oh, okay. So what do the kids love at the moment? They love the Mario's and they love the Minecrafts.
Let's do
Yeah.
that.
There you go, Mario Maker.
It's a clever idea actually, and
It is, yeah. No, I think it is.
I'm keen to see how it pans out, but having tried to build 11 in Little Big Planet, I'm thinking I won't.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
though,
it's not going to
make that
change
comparison.
or reinvent Mario in the slightest, but it's an interesting.
I was just going to
Nice
make the Little Big Planet comparison, but I think it will be like that, but just kind of really because obviously Nintendo was always very accessible to children as well.
Yeah.
So I think like whereas Little Big Planet is kind of like complex, and what I've seen of it, like where you've got like ropes on pulleys and you have to like set the rubber bands up right so it actually pulls when you go into the
Yeah.
proper game, things like that. Like Mario will just kind of be like, you know, this moves up now and down now, and it'll just kind of be, it'll be much easier to use. I think much more accessible than Little Big Planet
I might
kind of is,
level then.
Yeah, probably.
advanced level at least.
Mm.
Yeah, because I suppose
Doesn't
with
it
Little Big
Big
Planet, there's a
Planet
lot
love-
more. There's a few more gravity type
Mm,
mechanics in it, where Mario
it's
is
up
a
and
little
down.
bit more basic.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
stays on the ground.
Yeah, but I think that's definitely a title that's going to appeal to kids more than
Yeah.
anything, because a lot of kids like Minecraft and Lego, those sort
Yeah.
of things. It's appealing.
yeah.
I think it's definitely going to attract more children than it will anyone else. I think personally,
Yeah,
but
it's a smart move on their part. to be fair.
Yeah.
It's a smart move.
yeah. So, but I think they pulled it out of the bag, and I think
Yeah, they did well.
2000, especially 2015 is going to be the year that I think
Of
more
everything.
Wii U's are going to be bought, and everything, yeah, pretty much, yeah. But I suppose moving on to some honourable mentions, just a few. Alien Isolation.
Oh, that looked really good. That looked really
Yeah.
good, actually.
Hopefully this is going to be the Alien game that we've been wanting for a while.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't be another Colonial Marines.
Oh, don't.
Colonial Marines is kind of like the Batman quote, it's the hero that you kind of got but didn't deserve. Well, I'm hoping that it's the hero that you deserve.
Yeah.
If you were
That
more
guy.
than bought it, yeah. Christ. Did a bit of playthrough of that. I just.
I remember my friend hyping it so much, I was just like, if you've seen the reviews, it's bomb. It's fucking terrible.
It
It
was
was
such a
so-
flop,
so
such a flop, and such a disappointment to everyone, because it did look genuinely good. Everything the developer said about it did look genuinely good. But hopefully, Aliens Isolation will not be of the same vein.
Yeah.
Civilization Beyond Earth.
Was that actually shown at E3? Because
Yeah,
I
think it was.
I missed that. Or completely. I only found out the date for its being released today is late October. I'm massively excited
No,
for it.
Yeah.
Is this Civilization as in Sid Meier's Civilization? Or
Yeah,
is it
yeah,
totally
yeah.
different?
Basically, Sid Meier's Civilization, but it's going to be in space,
In
or set
space!
in the far future. So there's going to be it
That's not bad,
looks
right?
interesting. Yeah.
I'm excited for
really
that.
would Sid Meier than, like, got one of the games that I was on about on Steam that's kind of sat on my computer that's never ever been played is Civ 5, and I'll get around to it eventually when I get a decent computer. But yeah, no,
It's definitely been a good. I've not played it personally, but it's it's a good game.
Burn through
It's
lots
a
of
good
hours
game.
with it, mates. It
Yeah.
gets
Yeah, no,
quite
Civ-
dark.
Civ is super easy to play. You literally it's like you kind of just sit there and you're like, oh shit, it's bed. Oh, I thought it was 1 o'clock. I was going to go to bed now. Like it's just really easy
Yeah.
just to sit there and just do. There's there's no thought in it really. It's just kind of like you just play because you're so into it,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
watching it. It's really cool.
Yeah. So moving on, Elite Dangerous by Frontier Games.
Yeah, I've never really played any of the Elite games,
Seen a bit more
so
of that. No, neither have I. But it definitely looks interesting, and looks like there's a lot of sort of rebooting involved in it, and trying to bring it to a new audience because it's been about nearly 20 years or
Christ.
so, I think, since the last one. Or yeah, nearly 20 years, I think, since the last one. I think the last one was brought out in 1995, and this year's the 30th anniversary of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So,
I think some
but
bloke is actually in the teaser movie. I don't know who he is, but some bloke I know
sorry,
is in the
Josh?
film. Some bloke I know is in the teaser film.
Yeah, in a promotional film. It might be me.
Kind of it.
Might be worth saying I'm not mentioning this because I'm getting paid, because I'm not actually getting paid for being in the film. But Frontier Games, obviously, this is a big release for Elite Dangerous. It's 30 years since the game has been released, and it's the 30th anniversary, and they're doing a huge release and announcement of it and stuff like that in September. And they're doing a promotional film, which I've been lucky enough to get a part in. So, yeah. So stay tuned for that. But
Wasn't
yeah.
exactly if you people follow you on Twitter, they know anyway. So
Yeah. But yeah, no. So Elite Dangerous, but they're it's one of those sort of open world space exploration games, which is an MMO. It's kind of the same vein as I think Starbound or Star Citizen, one of those two,
Yeah,
or
both of those.
Eve Online, esque. But there's a lot they're planning to do for it, but they're taking it real slow because they want to get things perfect. Eventually, they're saying they're going to have like planetary exploration, on-foot exploration. You can drive vehicles and stuff, but that will come eventually. They're trying to get the sort of space sim right.
Yeah.
Everything like that. But yeah, so that's looking good. It looks really nice. It looks like a really nice game. It's one of those games that if you've got a high-end PC, is going to look absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So moving on, Fable Legends, Lionhead Studios. I've I don't know. It looks interesting, but
There's
I've
some
kind of
clever
lost my
ideas in there, but
I've lost
not
my
for me.
interest with Fable until they release a Fable 4 that's actually good.
Yeah.
It might persuade me to buy an Xbox One, but yeah, Fable Legends, nice idea.
Yeah,
but
nice ideas.
obviously, big announcement for a lot of people who are kind of backing it and riding behind it. With Operation Suzaku, Final Fantasy Type 0 is going to have a Eastern or Western, localization.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Was originally a PSP title, but Squeenix have announced that it will be having a Western localization for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So that's cool. Not sure when it's going to come out, but that's cool. Obviously, more from the Squeenix peoples. Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD remix. Kind of knew that was going to happen anyway. Really, it was a given.
Yeah, of course.
it's inevitable.
And
It's been a long time.
sorry.
It's been a long time since number 2, so I guess you just need to refresh.
Yeah,
Definitely. And a game that I'm having so many thoughts and feelings about. The more I find out about it, the more I kind of anticipate it, but kind of at the same time don't. And that's Shadows of Mordor, Middle Earth Shadows of Mordor by Warner
This
Bros.
is one of the ones we discussed on the Ghost Cast. I
Yeah,
was trying to explain the concepts and stuff that was going on with that game. I'm still into it.
yeah, I am, but I'm still there's still a lot of things that I'm not happy with. Obviously, the
Yeah.
Nemesis system looks great. It's an open world game, brilliant. The lore and storyline very interesting. I'm a massive Tolkien fan, as you all know, and the lore heavily interests me. But there's a lot of things that I'm not happy with regards to sort of the gameplay. Very Assassin's Creed-esque, and some of the gameplay trailers or some of the gameplay videos that I saw at E3, Talion, the main character, flipping around people, and it looked very unnatural for how I view Lord of the Rings games.
Right.
It's
more
too much
sort of
acrobatics.
Like medieval warfare, perhaps, that you see it as, sort of like armies and stuff like that. Perhaps is that right?
In a sense, I see it. Gameplay should be more like War in the North, or even the previous sort of Lord of the Rings movie titles.
Yeah.
Where it's it feels there's weight to the characters as opposed to Talion's just flipping around, killing guys, and you know.
Yeah, so
I will say it's actually reasonably true. You know, the way I've justified it in my mind, sort of thing, is that like obviously we know that he's consumed by a help me because otherwise I'm going to say white because
A
that's
wraith.
what's in my head all day.
yeah,
Wraith.
Wraith.
Yeah. Yeah, so you know he's being sort of like he's like working alongside the Wraith, and the Wraith obviously gives him ability, you know, gives him like physical prowess as well. The fact that he's
Yeah.
a ranger, rangers are very sort of like physical,
Very deadly.
the way that they move, yeah, like that. You know, the way that he moves actually really doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
I will say, I really, really am looking forward to it. It's one of the most anticipated titles for me at the Division, and like something else maybe I can't quite remember what like. Something that you might come on to in a minute anyway. Evolve.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's talking about.
Oh, Evolve,
Yeah,
yeah.
Evolve. Yeah.
But,
I mean, although I've got my
Not
preconceptions about Shadows of Mordor, and I did a first impressions video a couple of weeks back or a month back or so on my channel, but I will probably get this game. I will.
Yeah.
It's a Lord of the Rings game. There are elements that do look interesting and I do like. It's just I suppose they're minor details of what I'm griping about.
I'm pretty sure the ease of it was literally just for the game. Like, you've got to realise that the game developer able to do all these like ridiculous batshit things is partly because they play it 24/7. Also,
Well, I
the fact
don't
the
doubt
game-
that they were playing it on easy
Yeah, and
because it looked too easy.
Yeah, and then the other factor is that lots of people the demos want to use anyway. So like that's probably why it's just like general sort of familiarity with the game and like what they can do, as well as the fact that it was just almost easy as well.
But the definite thing that's drawing me in, it's Lord of the Rings title or Middle Earth title. It's going to be the story's going to be interesting. They're working so hard to make it true to the lore and be exact, which again, total respect for them because they're respecting the IP, they're respecting the universe, they're respecting the world. So you know, I can't fault them for that. So yeah, I'll probably get this game.
Yeah, it's definitely on my. It'll be one of my first purchases alongside. I might get it on the 360 if I like it. Might rebuy it for Xbox One, but yeah, it'll certainly be one of the next games to purchase, if not the next game I purchase.
Yeah. Cool. So I mean, I think personally that's it. Fucking hell, Pikachu hitting me again. So I think that was pretty much all I've got down here as things to sort of mention. I don't know if you guys have thought of any other titles.
I've got two
briefly.
I'd like to mention.
Yeah, go for it.
Number one, The Witcher 3, which looks bloody amazing. Still trying to crack through The Witcher 2. I keep getting through the first hour and then sort of stopping, but eventually I will beat it. We'll play through and finish it and get it off the Steam shelf. And the new Batman game, which looks incredible.
Oh yeah, the Arkham Knight. Yeah.
Arkham.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm hoping that because obviously Arkham Asylum and City were really great games. Origins was a bit of a flop.
Good. Yeah.
Hopefully, Knight will bring it back, bring the series back to its
I can
how
see
it
that.
was.
It's just
Knight is probably more of a true sequel to City, I'd have thought.
yeah.
Or at least
It's this time it's developed by Rocksteady again.
Yeah.
Origins was kind of like very Assassin's Creed in a way. It was kind of like, well, here's just what happened, and even though we're meant to be a trilogy, let's kind of like carry on with it anyway, sort of thing. So like, you know,
I suppose they almost tried to do an Assassin's Creed style with obviously when you had Assassin's Creed 1, there was Assassin's Creed 2, then for quite a long time there was Brotherhood, and the other ones.
Revolutions.
Yeah, all those sort of like standalone titles within the same universe. I suppose maybe Rocksteady tried to do a similar thing with that and maybe trust the IP with someone else, but maybe it's not gone so well, so we might not see any more games like that.
It's a shame, because like Arkham's actually shaped like all of the systems, all of the like, you know,
Yeah.
combat system is shaped like basically every game similar to it. You know, Lord of the Rings is the Shadow of Mordor kind of takes very kind of Arkham heavy references.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed's taking very Arkham heavy references. Like that combat. I remember the first time I played that combat system, I nearly got wept with how like fluid and lovely it was.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, I do love the Arkham battle system. I think it's a great system, but it works in that game. But my gripe is, for me personally, with Shadows of Mordor, that sort of style doesn't fit within that universe to me.
Right.
But that's just me.
That's
So
fine. That's fair criticism.
We'll
On a
see how
personal
Yeah.
it
level.
plays against the war and how much of an emphasis is made upon the abilities of the race and Talion rather than just Talion, I guess, and then go from there.
yeah,
That's kind of where I've logically set it aside in my mind.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, fair enough. But yeah, no. So Josh, is there anything that you thought of that we've missed out?
Evolve.
Maybe
Evolve
Evolve, yeah,
is the title.
being
That,
made
like,
by old Left 4 Dead developers,
Yeah.
as I'm aware.
it just looks, Evolve, actually, as far as I'm concerned, is an entirely new genre of game. It sounds really silly. It is, because it's cooperative, competitive, third person, first person.
That's a hell of a
Right.
mouthful.
Yeah, so it's like, so cooperatively, you're like the dude, like you're the hunters. It's cooperative. It's first person shooter, but it's cooperative. Versus, obviously, so it's competitive because you're fighting against the person playing as the creature.
Yeah.
And obviously, from the creature's standpoint, it's third person. There's no first person involved if you're the creature. And then it's an entirely different game because you're trying to like eat enough stuff and like survive long enough to then actually like fight the hunter. It's kind of like, as far as I'm concerned, I just thought it was really, really interesting. I thought it was actually like kind of almost a new genre in the way that it operates, just because it's cooperative, competitive, first person, third person. It's kind of a
Well,
jumble
it's
of things.
definitely got some cool ideas, some cool new ideas that I think being done by old Left 4 Dead developers. To me, Left 4 Dead is one of my favourite series and favourite titles for the Xbox, and I was blown away by that. And as far as multiplayer sort of online cooperative games go, Left 4 Dead are some of the best in my opinion, and I don't doubt that Evolve will be of the same ilk. But yeah, it looks good. But I think they announced a couple of new monster types,
Yeah.
which was cool.
Through,
Yeah.
which
So
is-
yeah, no,
which-
the more I see of it, the more it looks good.
Yeah, and the other one that I'd actually just I'd like to mention, and it's not because I'm sold on it, but just because I'm worried, like, I'm just wondering what you guys think, is that I can't remember the title of it now for the life of me. I want to say it's not State of Decay. That's an arcade game. It's the zombie people, maybe the people who did Dead Island. It's a mix between like Mirror's Edge, Dead Island, and Dead Rising. It's a bit weird.
Oh
not entirely-
God, I know the game you're going on about. I
You know
can't
what I mean?
bloody think of the name.
Do you know who's the developer? Do you know?
It's the same people who did Dead Island and Dead Island Side.
Tech Band. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have a quick wiki of it.
Not sure at all.
But I watched
So I remember-
the
Yeah, it's.
game start. It looks really weird. It's kind of, I can't decide whether it looks really good or really stupid. You kind of focus upon like not stealth, but like the agility, the parkour, like the running away, the kind of like bounding from like place to place, and like using like objects to break your fall, and that kind of stuff looks really nice, and it's very sort of heavily borrowed from Mirror's Edge, but versus also like the Dead Island first person, like smashing up zombies, but with the Dead Rising kind of creating the weapons, and that's kind of where it got a bit silly for me. I like the idea of like a bit.
Dying Light, is it?
Dying Light, that's the one.
There we go.
No, Dying.
Cool.
Isn't Dying Light the platform like side scrolling? Oh, it's Dead Light, that one.
Dead
Might be
Light.
Dying Light.
It's too many lights. Too many lights. Knock them all out.
Okay.
Are you dead? Are you dying? You alight? Make your mind up.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you guys were engaged with it and what you guys thought of it, so I was just totally undecided.
Gotta say, that's totally escaped me, unfortunately. But
Naz?
Yeah.
What did you think? Did you see any of it?
I thought it was interesting, but I got the same kind of thing. Like, I'm getting this kind of like post Dead Island gameplay type thing, where I played Dead Island finally after seeing all the trailer and watching all the hype from it, deflate from it, and thinking, well, it's £5 now, I can pick it up.
Sounds like
and,
it. Yeah.
I'm just in the kind of a limbo with it. There's some ideas going on which I really, really like the look of, but at the same point in time, I'm thinking, remember that game, because it wasn't that brilliant at all. It's like, I hope it's good. As with all games of the world, I always hope any game that's made is good.
The Dead Island state was that they showed it as something which totally wasn't. this idea of being a really, really heart-wrenching, like story-driven survival
Yeah,
game.
no, it just wasn't. It was
versus
a
just this
disappointment. It had so much
literally-
potential, and it was a massive disappointment. Yeah.
Probably a decent game in its own right if it had been marketed as such, but just the way it was marketed was
Yeah. Yeah.
not like that.
So anyway, we've gone on for long enough. This is gonna be probably the longest podcast we've done. But I think if everyone's free, everyone's good to just sort of end it sort of roundabout here. I'll obviously do the releases quick, and then we'll say goodbye. But I think that's it's been a pretty good discussion on the E3. This month's releases, obviously we've already started July, but what was out on July the 1st? Sniper Elite 3 for the PS4, PS3, 360, Xbox One. That's out currently now. Anyone looking to purchase that?
I'd heard,
it's not on my
I'd
street.
seen a little bit of Sniper Elite here and it looked reasonably interesting. I can't work out if it's just spunk of a wee or if it's actually got a bit of brain to it. I'm not sure. The actual brutality of it looks quite cool, and watching your shot bow and like reshaping the skull and watching all the bones and breaking
Yeah.
all the hemorrhage
Yeah.
is pretty cool, but I'm not sure. Like, maybe if it's cheap, I might.
I
Yeah,
always just see
yeah.
that
I
site
think
as a bit of a bad joke, Sniper Elite. It's just kind of like
yeah.
sounds like it's been cheaply developed, but it's got a bit of a franchise.
It does.
following now,
It does
so-
look. It does look kind of good. I mean, I've seen some sort of gameplay of it, but I think it's one of them sort of titles that you walk into a game store and you see, oh, £5. Yeah, go on then.
No one-
Okay, July the 15th, we've got Abyss Odyssey from Atlas for the PlayStation 3, 360, and PC. Anyone?
I haven't heard of that at all.
I think it's a bit of like a sort of side-scrolling 2D RPG style game.
Not necessarily for me, then I wouldn't have thought, not the sort of games I normally play.
Fair enough. Here's one for you, Naz. July the 22nd rather. Dark Souls 2: Crown of the Sunken King DLC.
Oh, DLC, lovely. Well, might dig into that.
Yeah, no, and obviously that's out for all platforms that Dark Souls is on. So PC, 360, and PS3.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
one.
Yep, there you go. July 24th, the game that you played fairly recently, Naz, Gods Will Be Watching, coming out for a proper PC release.
That's exciting. They just
Yeah.
put the price up for that, and it's quite a reasonable price to be fair. That's £7 for
Yeah,
that.
that's
I'd
a
be really
good, it's a
excited to
good
have a go
game.
at it.
Yeah. Have you heard of Gods Will Be Watching, Josh?
No, I totally missed that one.
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Naz, but it's kind of it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic game where you're looking after a party of people on a campsite.
Yeah.
And you've got a couple of characters. You've got a sort of doctor, a psychiatrist, a robot, an engineer, a soldier, and a sort of dog. And you'll have to basically keep those people alive. And it's kind of like a micromanagement game, I suppose, where you have to make sure that you've got enough rations, no one's suffering any diseases, and your fire is lit. And then obviously you've got to keep up with everyone's morale and make sure everyone's not losing it. But it's a really kind of interesting indie title. Really cool.
Yeah.
So somebody gets sick, see someone to the doctor, they get PTSD, they get the psychiatrist.
Yeah,
Sort of.
so
Yeah.
people start sort of losing it and shivering, and some people just run away and disappear, and they're like, "No, why did you leave?" And you can die if the fire's not lit, because you just all die of being
To death,
frozen. Yeah.
So
Or
the
you
major idea
starve or
behind it is the
whatever.
fact you've got so many actions in a day to do. So there's only so
Yeah.
many times you can make up cures and rebuild the radio and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, it's a lot. It's a roguelike, which basically means if someone's dead, they're dead for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But then there's so much more after that. If I was any good at that game, I could show some more of it. But I
Yeah,
couldn't get
but
past the
there
campfire.
is for such a sort of simple, small game. There's so much sort of replayability. We think, no, okay, this time I'll do this. This
Yeah.
time I'll do that. And it's one of those games that you could just play with a couple of people as well. I think that would be really fun.
Seems originally Don't Starve-esque, where it's kind of like, let's do this. Oh, that didn't work. So let's start again
Yeah.
and let's try it this way, and then still, and then do it again.
Yeah.
But-
So moving on, July the 25th, Wii U Sports Club. Yay!
Hey,
Games to play for the Wii
something
U.
For the Wii U to turn on.
And then,
to the Wii U. That's really weird. Chloe will be happy.
So finishing up the month on July the 29th, The Last of Us Remastered for the PlayStation 4.
That's tough to make a call on, really, because I've got it, I've played it, I think I've got everything I want out of it, but I'm always going to be looking at that and going, if I can just get it for 10 quid, if I can just do a nice little program for me to get it for 10 quid, I'll do it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's all right if you've not played it, I suppose, on for the PS4. Yeah. But yeah, it just seems to me a bit close to where because it was only released last year or the year before.
Exactly, last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand if it was 5 years on, 6 years on, but yeah, it just seems really close to its actual release that they just remastered it for PlayStation 4.
Released last year, though. That's kind of the worry. Cost, if you released it last year, then surely you'd have released it at the highest quality that you could have done.
Yeah,
I don't know what the move is there. To be honest, I really don't, because I can't see any reason to get it. I mean, I've got an art book of it. I've got the collector's edition of the one that's on PS3 currently. I don't see a reason to go and get it.
I think it might have been more of a move from Sony saying, "Hey, that was really successful. There's not a lot of games for the PS4. Can you make this to try and sell more consoles, maybe?" I think that's probably what the move was initially. But that is it for the sort of releases of this month. There might be, that's as I say always, that's not all of the releases, but there's not a lot coming out this year, or this month rather. But yeah, no, there's probably more than that, but they're kind of the ones that have kind of caught my eye, I suppose, a little bit maybe. But yes, as for the podcast, that is it. We have to end the episode here because obviously it's gone for far too long. But hopefully, guys, you've enjoyed everything we've spoken about and enjoyed our post E3 chat. And we're losing Josh. This is not good. Josh, where have you gone? Oh, right at the end as well.
Right at the death.
Right at the end. But yes, anyway, we'll still end it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed yourselves in our E3 chat. Obviously, if there's anything you've found that was awesome at E3 that you're looking forward to, let us know in the comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts. But as for our guests, Naz, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast and sharing your thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad it was a lot less glaggy than it was last time.
That was weird.
You're right there, Josh. We've got him back at the last minute.
Back just for his finale.
That's fine. So yeah, no, thank you guys. Just saying thank you to Naz for coming on the show, and thank you for sharing his thoughts. Thank you, Josh, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it, buddy. Sharing your thoughts and feelings. We'll have you again.
Oh.
And both of you, I think.
Good to know that I haven't just totally missed it. That's always good. I do appreciate you having.
No worries, you're absolutely welcome anytime. But yes, as for the podcast, as monthly podcast, hopefully we'll see you next month. And you can find this on my YouTube channel at the moment. Obviously, YouTube/user/the Undead Gamer. For all the latest news on my channel, what I'm doing, you can find me on Twitter at the Undead Gamer. That's probably where I post most of my stuff and bore you to death with what I'm doing. And Naz, obviously, go find him on his awesome YouTube channel, Talk Play, and for some Let's Plays and some great gaming content. It's always awesome. And follow him on Twitter. And pester him and stuff at Naz. Is it Naz_Dragonheart?
That's absolutely correct.
Awesome. And Josh, not being a YouTuber but a massive gamer with a lot to say on Twitter, you can follow him on Twitter if that's all right.
Yeah,
yeah. Is it at Josh Bolts?
Josh_Bolts.
Yeah, Josh_Bolts there. So yes, thank you guys so much.
Sorry, I was about to say,
Thank you very
eventually I'll
much.
bring that together and start up a YouTube, and I might be doing more gaming stuff anyway, hopefully. So.
Well, as soon as that happens, we'll let everyone know. So, yeah. Awesome. So that is it for episode 3, I think, of the Undead Gaming Cast. Thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you so much to Naz and Josh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Welcome. Right, so, well, see you later. Bye-bye. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.
Yeah.